Hey, hey, spooky kids, broadcasting from the crossroads of America in the heart of the great Midwest. This is Into the Night, and I am Jimmy Mitchell. I've got a story for you all tonight. Let's see here. Whoops. Where are we at? A mysterious mermaid mummy brought back to the U.S. from Japan over a century ago is likely a grotesque amalgamation of different animal parts, according to preliminary scans. The eerie mummy, measuring approximately 11.5 inches, that's 29 centimeters for all you other people over the pond, has been dubbed the Fiji Mermaid due to its resemblance to a similar object famously exhibited by P.T. Barnum in the 1840s. This peculiar artifact was purchased in Japan by an American naval officer and later donated to the Clark County Historical Society in Springfield, Ohio in 1906. Accompanying documents suggest the mummy dates back to the mid-1800s. For the first time, researchers have thoroughly examined the mummy using X-ray and CT scans in an effort to uncover its true composition. Joseph Kress, a radiographer at Northern Kentucky University and the project leader, told Live Science this allowed us to see the mummy in almost every dimension in the hopes to see what was inside it. Scans revealed that the mummy appears to be a bizarre fusion of the head and torso of a monkey sewn onto the decapitated body of a fish. The mermaid's hands, intriguingly, are actually the clawed legs of a lizard, possibly from a Komodo dragon. According to the hold on a second here. According to the where was I? Oh my goodness. I've lost my spot. Scans revealed that the mummy appears to be a bizarre fusion of head and torso of a monkey sewn onto a decapitated body of a fish. The mermaid's hands, intriguingly, are actually the clawed legs of a lizard, possibly from a Komodo dragon. According to Kress, additionally, the scans uncovered wooden stakes inside the mummy, one running along its length from head to tail, and another across its shoulder blades, likely added to maintain the creature's structure. The research team is now working on creating a detailed model of the mermaid and its individual parts, with plans to send these models to zoos and aquariums to help identify the specific species used in its construction. Interestingly, this is not the only mummified mermaid to undergo such scrutiny in recent times. In March of 2022, researchers analyzed a similar specimen discovered in a concealed box within a Japanese temple, initially believed to be another monkey-fish hybrid. Further scans conducted in February revealed that this mummy was primarily composed of cloth, paper, and cotton, painted with sand and charcoal. Also held together by metal pins. Various animal parts, such as mammal hair and fish skin, were attached to the outside of the figure. Both mermaids bear a striking resemblance to Ningyo, mythical fish-like creatures with human faces from Japanese folklore. According to legend, consuming one of these creatures could grant a person an extraordinary lifespan, with one tale recounting a woman who lived for 800 years after eating a Ningyo. I call bullshit. As a result, it's likely that these mermaid mummies were created by fishers to sell to wealthy individuals seeking to extend their lives, as previously reported by Live Science. You can actually see the pictures that go along with this story in the Discord. If you'd like to join the Discord, a link is at the top. You can click on that and join the Discord, and the pictures are in the media. That way you can see the pictures of the monkey mermaid fish thing. Question of the day. What item has drastically improved your life? Drastically improved my life. Cigarettes. That's not true. Not true. But I couldn't think of anything else. Feel free to answer in the chat. And while you're thinking about what item has drastically improved your life, tonight, We are diving headfirst into the dark, twisted world where horror meets the paranormal, with a guest who brings a unique flair to both. By day, she's navigating the eerie silence of a cemetery, managing a place where the line between the living and the dead is tantalizingly thin. This is someone who's just as comfortable running a Halloween store as she is running down the truth behind the ghost story and can still find time to poke fun at the fakes in between. Our guest is a true Renaissance woman with a past as diverse as it is fascinating. She studied graphic design at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, and before she was chasing spirits, she was soaring through the skies as a commercial pilot, flying helicopters, and she is out of her fucking mind. It's not every day that you meet someone with such a diverse set of experiences, but that's what makes her so captivating. Her latest work shows us a side of the paranormal that's rarely seen raw, uncut, and unfiltered. It's not just another investigation video, it's a piece of art in itself. It's gritty, real, and nothing like the overly produced content you might be used to. And of course, she has a true love for horror, which runs deep. Her favorite, the iconic Nightmare on Elm Street. Not just a film for her, the cornerstone of her passion for all things horror, from Freddy Krueger's terrifying antics to the eerie atmosphere that leaves you checking under your bed. This movie has helped shape her love for the genre in profound ways. She's ooky, she's kooky, she's mysteriously spooky. Carla, the creative genius behind the YouTube channel Horror of Horror. Thank you so much, and welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. Can everybody hear Carla okay? Just curious. I'm going to go ahead and read out the participants of the chat. We have Blueberry329, Caroline Saxby, Cynthia Bossy, Faith Burris, Michael Burkeen, Rob Linklater, and Stay Tuned DC are all here in the chat with us today. How's your day going, Carla?
Good.
Yeah? Anything, you're keeping your feet on the ground and not flying any helicopters today, I take it?
No, sadly.
Sadly?
Yeah, I'd rather fly.
Would you?
Yeah.
Let me boost your vocals up just a little bit there. Thank you for coming on here with me today. I appreciate it. We just met, and started conversing with each other. Well, it was last Tuesday. I think it was when Kenny Biddle was on. And I saw you stumble in, and I saw you, and I was like, I've been meaning to ask her to come onto the show. So what a perfect series of events that turned out to be. So from flying helicopters to running a cemetery, you've had quite the journey. What's the real story behind how you ended up in the paranormal scene?
The paranormal side of me started when I was younger. So I had some experiences when I was little, and it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I started exploring places just for fun and had some happenings. And then I started a research group to figure out why people are still lingering in these places, and not really to point out that the paranormal is real, because I believe it's real. I appreciate the skeptics, but from my experiences, for sure, you just can't explain some things that happened. And so I'm more or less trying to figure out why people are still around and not moved on, or is there such a thing?
Right.
A lot of mysteries behind it.
So you believe, this, because we're never really going to find the answers, right? I mean, we want the answers, but it's intriguing nonetheless. And I think because we can't find the answers, that's part of the intrigue. You said you had a couple of experiences. Would you care to elaborate on at least one?
You mean when I was younger?
Yeah.
Or
Whenever.
oh,
Anything.
okay.
Anything that seemed profound to you, or that really, you know.
I remember the first thing I ever saw was it was like a figure of a man in my room, and I was about 8 years old, laying in my bed, staring out into the hallway where my door faced, and my parents' room was to the left of me. And when I looked, I saw somebody in front of my bed, and it scared me, and I yelled for my dad because I didn't know what it was or who was in my room. I just knew it was a man. It was white. I could see through him. And when my dad came out of his room, it was gone. So that was my first ever sighting of an apparition.
Okay. Okay. A creepy white see-through man in your room at the end of your bed.
Yeah, I was awake. I wasn't like I was sleeping or anything. I was just looking out into the hallway, and there was this person in my room.
Right.
Yeah, and it scared me. I don't know if it was anything bad or not, but it scared me because I was little.
Sure. Now that would do it, I think, for me as well. It's like, what was that? How did that happen? I know what I saw. And of course, you know, your father probably dismissed it and told you were okay and all that.
He walked in and there was nothing there, nothing wrong, and I didn't know what happened either. It just vanished. Yeah, so I think kids are innocent and a little bit more susceptible to seeing things like that.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right.
In my opinion, yeah. So I think a lot of people see things when they're younger that they can't explain.
Yeah, it reminds me of the first thing that I know that I saw, which was also a creepy white man, but he wasn't see-through, and he was standing out the window, but he didn't look alive. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but when I think about it, you know, now, he wasn't colored correctly, you know, he grays, sort of grayish, sunk-in face, and he looked confused. And I remember telling my mom, like, Mama, there's a man outside. And she went and looked, and she was like, there was no one there. But I was so little that I didn't know what lying or dead or ghosts were, you know, so I know I wasn't lying. So it was just, that was something that intrigued me. So I can totally get on board with what you're talking about.
Do you kind of remember how old you were? Like, maybe roughly?
I was probably like 2-ish, somewhere around 2, because we didn't move out to that house until I was about 2 years old. And I know it was before my 3rd birthday because I remember my 3rd birthday as well. So yeah, I mean, I was very little, very, very little bitty boy. Working at a cemetery, it has to give you some sort of unique outlook on life. Has that affected the way you approach your investigations, or I guess just how you look at the paranormal at all?
Well, I think the cemetery brings a lot of respect into that, but so was my 20s. Because when I was in my 20s, I was pretty crazy and did some stuff that I probably shouldn't have, and went into places that were off limits.
Right.
And
adventure,
so
a rule breaker.
Just messing with stuff and going in this house that I shouldn't have been into. And from there, it just opened my eyes that you really shouldn't be messing with things that you aren't sure about.
Right.
So I think that brought more to it than me working at the cemetery. But I know, like, how I work in the cemetery, my feelings about the paranormal are different. I put a lot of care into my work and the people that bury their loved ones and the people that are remaining. And so when I go do research or explore places, I know that everybody's connected somehow to somebody, and you never know, like, what they've gone through. And so it just gives you a different perspective on exploring different places. I'm just going to use that word. Sorry, I don't know what else to say except you're in there discovering things and what might be around. And like I said, being respectful and not messing around, screwing off, because I don't think that the dead deserve that.
Right.
You know,
Giving you
just like if like a bunch of kids were coming into the cemetery and messing around and vandalizing stuff or doing investigations and screaming shit, you know, it's like, it's very disrespectful.
Right. Yeah, it seems to have given you a sense of sympathy. I can hear it in your voice when you're talking that there's a new level of care that you previously probably hadn't had the perception
I have a lot of empathy for the families and their grief. So I feel that it's very hard not to show it when I'm doing a burial and participating in the ceremony, because they're all hurting, and just to feel that, I pray a lot for them. I believe in God, and I do pray. I was raised Catholic. So I think in that way I can saying prayers and being there for them too.
Sure.
I think that's when people need it most.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say the cemetery is lucky to have somebody like you, because for a lot of people it could just be a job, but at the same time, I think when you're working in a place like that, you and be able to stay working there and make it, you know, as an employee for something like that, you have to have a certain level of empathy, like what you're saying, and good on them for giving you a job, because I don't think that they could have gotten anybody better. Just hearing you talk about it, I can tell that you're, you know, you mean what you say. So that's very nice to hear. Switching, you've got a background in graphic design. So do you think that can play into your paranormal work? Do you find yourself seeing things like when you're watching videos that other people might miss?
I really didn't know about it till Beardo debunked some stuff and showed how editing and masking works, and it makes sense, because using Photoshop and my graphic design, there's a lot of layering and editing and manipulating images, and yeah, it's quite possible that people can be doing that to fake evidence in their videos for views, and I just feel like that's wrong. Like,
sure.
Again, a lot of disrespect to those that have passed on, and to fake it to me is awful. It makes me sick.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like, you know, we've been fooled by people, right? We've invested our time into certain channels, and whether you figure it out on your own or someone points it out to you, you still feel betrayed to a degree, even though these people don't know you. And then you kind of start to realize, well, like, that's what they're feeding off of, because they don't care how you feel or how I feel about it. You know, clearly they're willing to do it for you know, monetary gain. I'm with you on that, and that leads me. Well, I do want to talk a bit about the video you released here in a little bit. We'll get to that, but I just like the fact, I want to mention that the last video you put out, as I mentioned earlier, it's raw, you know, and for the most part it's uncut. There's a couple of places where you did some cuts where I'm sure it was just, you know, something that really didn't need to be in there, and probably very quick, but for the most part the whole thing is genuine, as in it's all just the raw footage of it, no editing or anything like that. And I think that is something that it's hard to look at that and say this person's trying to fake things when you do it that way. So hats off to you for that. Nightmare on Elm Street, your favorite horror film. What is it about Freddy, or, you know, that resonates with you? Do you see parallels between that and other passions that you may have, like paranormal and stuff like that, or probably. I wouldn't say that Freddy would make me go, you know what I want to do is go hunt ghosts. But I love that that's the one that you gravitated to because it's a great film. It's a great film. What is it about that film that I guess just kind of you say, oh, I want to watch another one. I want to watch another one. What do you think about? Yeah.
It's scary. I'm not gonna lie, like it is. And he's funny. Like,
right.
I'm one of those that laugh through horror movies besides being scared, and I like the roller coaster of emotions of it. So it just makes the scares a little bit more intense too, I think. But I think his dark humor is hilarious. And if you think about it, what happened to him and his death, you can relate it to the paranormal world, like haunting.
Right.
Like, how do you like haunt somebody better than through their subconscious? So
Sure.
it's like there's no limit to it, and it give you nightmares. So it's pretty cool.
It's almost demonic.
Yeah.
Because personally, I think that's how the demonic would haunt you through your psyche and through things like that, more so than some sort of extreme happenings in your house, like stuff moving and all that. I think demons are more apt to attack you that way. And what's interesting is I've often heard of Freddy as referred to as a demon, just in I don't know, when they're trying to explain or whenever they're giving him some sort of introduction and stuff like that. I've heard him often referred to as a demon. There was even a drink made by G Fuel named after him, Demon's Blood or Demon something or other. Anyway, I'm rambling.
No, you're
fine. You have juggled some pretty diverse careers or interests. Pilot, cemetery manager, paranormal investigator. What do you... With a pilot, that I think that would terrify me more than ghosts, to be honest, because there's obviously a clear danger right in front of you. But what is it about the unknown and the unexplained, do you think, that just keeps pulling you in?
I guess the unanswered questions of it. Like, I think everybody wants to know, like, what happens when you die.
Yeah.
Everybody's got that question.
Is that why you're a pilot? Is that why you're a pilot? Because
no, the pilot.
Then you can die, and then you'll know.
No, the pilot part was actually because I love flying. I love flying in airplanes, and I had the opportunity in front of me. And originally, I wanted to save lives and started off with animals, but I thought being a mercy pilot, flying people from here, our hospital, to Great Falls or a specialty hospital was what I wanted to do, and that's why I went into the pilot training. So I wanted to save people, and I think I want to save people that have passed on in the paranormal world too.
Right.
Like the lost, or who knows what happens, but they're there for some reason.
A mercy pilot for spirits.
Yeah.
All right, well, if all these interests and experiences, what do you consider to be your true passion? Is it the paranormal? Is it horror? Or is it something else entirely?
Oh, I think it's the horror. It's my everyday life. But the cemetery I'm committed to, like, a lot. So
yeah.
Not to say that things won't change down the road, but it feels like there's purpose. Like, I've been searching in my life to do something that feels like I'm giving back, and there's purpose for my work.
Yeah, and there's no better reward when you're working like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When you have like a higher purpose in your job, it helps makes going to work easier, I think. Back on the subject of your latest video, you went for a raw and unpolished feel,
Right.
and I did mention a little bit why that direction, why and how does that reflect your approach to the paranormal?
I think it's because I want people to be as if they're with me, like if they're going through what I'm going through, to actually experience it in real time. And then to have it unedited, given like, I'll add in like certain things with the like where I'm at, but like the church, started in the mine and then went to the church, but I didn't touch anything that I filmed because I don't want anything to be discredited. Like whatever I find or I record, I want it to be as it is, and nobody can question my credibility.
Right. Yeah, it's obvious that you're not trying to, as they say, pull the wool over anyone's eyes. It's, you're putting something out there that's raw, and it means that's what I see. What you just said, it's definitely, I think, a very good approach, because people do like to accuse, because it's edited or because it has music or whatever, that it's fake. People
Right.
will reach for at the bottom of the barrel for reasons why you're fake. And it is a good argument, I think, when you're putting stuff out like that, because and if someone does notice something, let's say that they like, oh, I don't like apps or whatever, they can't come at you and say, well, she's faking things, because you like tools that maybe other people don't like. That doesn't mean you're faking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah, I think that stuff like that is important to be able to point out, because again, you're trying to maintain your credibility, and I think you're doing a great job with that. With your graphic design skills, clearly I would think you have a keen eye for detail. So, yeah, you mentioned before it was Beardo that kind of helped point you into that direction of being able to separate real paranormal evidence from the noise. But how do you find yourself doing that on your own? Debunking on your own? Obviously, I don't know that you, I haven't seen a video where you're flat out debunking. I've seen some where you're making fun of people, and I enjoy that too.
I haven't done the debunking part. I could pick out things that I know that aren't real, like my first episodes that I've watched before Beardo. I was like, nope, I already knew what was coming. I was really disappointed in the channel, because I really enjoyed them in the beginning, and I honestly just started watching paranormal channels for fun, because I was like, I want to watch, ghost hunts and stuff, and you'd see them on TV and cable, but then you got the YouTube people, and I was like, well, maybe people have actually captured some real stuff. And then to find out later that I was lied to, I was really angry about it. I felt stupid. I felt really stupid. Like, I couldn't believe that they pulled that one on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Beardo showed how he literally went through how they did it, and I was like, wow, like, I never would have thought. Duh, like, there's so much that you can do with editing.
Right, right.
Yeah, but I just felt duped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a double-edged sword for me, because I hate fakers. Well, hate is a strong word. I do not agree with what they do. But the fact that they do it keeps me on my toes as to figuring out how they did it. You know what I mean? They find new ways to, where there's a will, there's a way. So they're going to try and figure out ways to fake. Yeah. And sometimes, you can look at it and see exactly how it was done. Other times, there are minor details that give it away. But it's definitely something that keeps I think the debunkers on their toes. So I kind of think we need these fake people in a way, as much as I hate to say that. And I do hate to say that, but like I said, it helps us direct our craft.
Yeah.
When you're out investigating, do you consider yourself more of a skeptic or a believer? And how do you keep that perspective balanced?
Well, I'm both. Very, very skeptical on like the equipment and the things that are used and if they're legit or not. And a lot of it I base on my experiences and what I've seen with my own eyes. So I'm kind of aware and I watch a lot. I'm an observer when I'm out doing research. Just the feelings and picking up on vibes and how people are reacting. And sorry,
Okay.
I'm having issues here. Sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. You're fired.
I had like something come up.
No, you're good. So have you had any like what's one piece of evidence you think that's made you stop and think this might actually be something?
That I've used recently?
Just anything, any piece of evidence. It doesn't even have to be something that you've shown on your channel. Just any piece of evidence that's made you stop and think, wow, this might really be something real here.
I don't have anything recorded for that.
That's fine.
Like, yeah, it was just poltergeist kind of activity.
Yeah.
I had a person that had passed on that was angry I was there in his house, and he knocked stuff off the table in front of 2 other people. And if you ask them, they'll tell you the same thing. So it's not just me. There's actually 2 other people that witnessed just out of nowhere a vase and ashtray, some bills, some coins fell on the floor off the table as if somebody knocked it off when they were angry. And it was right in front of us. And then a few minutes later, some dishes on the counter fell off and broke. And that night I listened to chimes go off in the different rooms. You could hear a shift in the different rooms and the chimes would go off. There was no windows open. There was no explaining. And it was a very violent gesture, so it was shocking. It was because we were talking about this person and they were mad. So I don't have anything evidential, like, no photographs, no videos of it, because we were talking personally and it wasn't like anything was running, and it was not my home, and it was a very personal experience for this man.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, you say it was a very violent thing, so it isn't as if it just fell off. It shot off. Is that accurate?
It was like somebody took their arm and knocked the shit off the table because they were mad.
Wow.
And they didn't like what we were talking about.
Man, I would love to experience something like that.
Yeah, he was not happy I was there. He knew I could sense his presence there. The very negative presence of him.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. Like, I've yet to see anything like that happen in front of me. I've had, audio things happen, but never something that, well, I did have something move once, but it didn't go flying off the table. And I did, when I asked it, I said, can you move that again? It went psh, and it moved harder and completely slid across the counter.
Yeah.
But that's about it. So yeah, but to see something just go flying like that would do it for me, I think. And I wouldn't want to leave either. I'd be like,
I stayed.
Yeah.
All night. Yeah. I stayed and observed.
Good for you.
Yeah, it startled me. I was shocked, but I was like, okay, well, there's obviously something here. So
right.
I will stay and check it out and figure out what we got to do from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, good on you for not running away. You went there to find things, you found things, and instead of running away like these fools do.
Yeah, I don't really scare easily.
Yeah.
I don't.
I would imagine not, with being in love with horror and working in a cemetery and things like that. You don't strike me as somebody who's easily scared. There are places with reputations for being haunted, and then there are places that kind of fly under the radar. Can you give me any hidden gems that you may have found in your investigations?
Like places that I've been to.
Yeah,
A lot of them are ghost towns. Ones that aren't really active during the tourist seasons. They're ghost towns where there's still people living there, but very few. And some residential places downtown in the historic area here in Helena. There's some homes that are inhabited still, that I've had experiences in. And they're just places that aren't frequented, like popular, you know. And I think you tend to find things when you're not looking.
Sure.
Things that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and the mine, I think, is one of those that's I've never heard of the mine that you went to before. So I think that kind of falls under the same kind of idea of like a hidden gem. I know that they have tours, like they do have like a ghost tour there, right? And then the guides kind of go with you on your investigation. Is that accurate?
Yeah, they have regular tours during the day where you can check out the mine where it's not. I'm sure there's still things there and maybe things happen, but people aren't really looking for it and they're not aware that there's happenings, just like what happened in my video, because I wasn't aware. Yeah, it's just. And then they do tours, but it's not that common. Like there was very few there. And I know that there was a lot of tragic things that happened with the mines. There was one not very far from that mine where there was a fire and 13 people died in it.
Oh.
They lost their lives in the fire. And then there's accidents and cave-ins and things. So their deaths in the mines because it was dangerous work.
Right. Have you ever encountered a hoax where someone was trying to fool you or anything like personally? Have you ever dealt with that? Just curious. Because
No.
I feel like that danger is there. So
Yeah.
I just figured I'd ask.
Right. No, I haven't had anything where it was a setup.
Right on. Yeah, because that'll really dishearten the whole thing, wouldn't it? And then you have to throw out anything that you found at that point because, you know, someone's pulling a trick or whatever. So, good. I'm glad it hasn't happened yet. I say yet. I hope it doesn't happen at all.
Me too. I'd probably be pretty mad.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to make you mad. You look like somebody who would beat my ass.
I'm not a mean person. But...
Well, I don't think you're mean, but I wouldn't want to fuck with you. I'm just going to say that. Have you ever been in a situation during an investigation where you thought, I need to get out of here? Has that happened? Or is it like we were talking about before where something happens and you're just like, why? And you just investigate it further?
Yeah, there was one broad daylight in the Elkhorn ghost town, and I was just checking out the fraternity hall and just looking around, and I went to the top floor and something really menacing growled at me.
Wow.
Like it sounded almost like an animal, and I did get the hell out of there. I waited, went back to check it out because I was curious. I didn't know what happened, and looked around. There wasn't anything in there. Like it almost sounded like a mountain lion cat growl, like really that.
Mm-hmm.
Really low and mad. It's hard to explain what it was because when I went back, there wasn't anything around like the top floor. It was just kind of an area where you could oversee this stage down below the fraternity hall, and it was just odd. Like it did frighten me. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. It was angry. Can't explain what it was.
Yeah, don't know how I would handle that situation myself if I heard a growl like that.
Yeah, I seriously thought it was almost an animal, like a mountain lion, and I was like, I ain't messing with that.
Right.
I'm out of here. Yeah, and I left. But I waited outside for a while, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back in and see what made that noise. Like
right.
probably wasn't the best idea. Like, oh, let me go back in and see like what'll eat me, but. Yeah, there was absolutely nothing upstairs. I couldn't explain what I heard. Yeah,
right.
I just
And this is an area where mountain lions would, maybe not necessarily be in the building. I'm sure that the building was if it's a place where people are going, then they're going to take precautions to keep things like wildlife out, But this is in an area of North America where there would be mountain lions, so it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be irregular for you to think, wow, that could be a mountain lion. It's not like you were in I don't know, Michigan, where I think one of the most dangerous wildlife things they have is black squirrels. I don't think there's any mountain lions in Michigan. I don't know, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
What do you think the most underrated piece of equipment that you use is on investigations? Is there something that you just absolutely love and you think doesn't get enough love?
The K2. My light went out.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a lot of technical issues tonight. I can just feel it.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
You still look stunning.
Thanks.
Light or not.
The K2. Well, I like using that to pick up energy. I think it's. I don't know. I see people use it, but I think it's really underrated. And because I like energy, I believe energy is always there. I don't feel like it's something that just disappears. It's like I see energy around people and I see auras, so I know it's there. It's really cool to pick up something when you're not expecting it. And then there was one piece of equipment in the mine, and I don't really have it. I don't think it's on my video, but people were using the bells. And I can't debunk a bell because you have to physically touch it for it to go off.
Right.
And we had them go off quite a few times in the church. And then there was, they called it the mechanic room. And there was an area where the miners would come out of the mine into this room where they would change and clean their equipment and themselves and shower. And we had a bell in there and it randomly went off.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know how you debunk something like that, but it was cool because I was like, I've never used that piece of equipment before, and we had responses with it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, hearing a bell for no reason, and I imagine you went to investigate how, what would cause that? Was that something that, if you're going to do an investigation, I would imagine that's kind of one of the first things. At first you get over the shock and awe of what's just happened, and then it's like, okay, can we recreate that? And you found no way that could have been done?
No, I physically held them and touched them, and you have to push that thing for it to ring, for it to go off. And they had them set up on the pew at the front, where the front of the altar of the church, on the pews, and they were just sitting there, and every once in a while one of them would go off, and everybody was sitting back in the seats,
right,
just watching. They had a K2 up there, and then they also had I think it was REM pod, and the REM pod didn't go off, but the K2 would once in a while.
Right.
Yeah. But the bell was just random. I was like, wow, that's crazy. I never thought of using a bell.
And it's such a simple mechanism. It's just ropes and pulleys, basically, to set. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, the bell was used down in the mines too. So I don't know if maybe it had something to do with the environment, because they would ring the bell or whatever to send the cage up and down, and that was their way of communicating.
Right.
Yeah, so it was almost like it was tied to the environment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating.
It was interesting, yeah. I can't debunk it because I have no idea how that went off
Yeah.
on its own. Nobody was up there messing with it. We all just sat back and watched.
Yeah, and knowing that you took the time to try and debunk it, that's, I think that alone and of itself gives you more credibility. So, as a paranormal investigation, or I'm sorry, a paranormal investigator, how do you ensure that your investigations maintain that kind of credibility and authenticity, especially in a field where skepticism is so prevalent?
Well, I have a few more investigations this month. I have 2 at the end of the month each Friday, and I plan on doing pretty much the same thing, but I'm going to be using my night vision so people can see a little bit better in the areas besides picking up things, so they can actually see the location and not just be a shot in the dark.
What do you feel are some of the challenges that you face when you're editing and presenting these investigations to your audience?
I feel like there's a lot of people out there that have channels with a lot of viewers, and they've been doing it for quite a while. I've been doing it for quite a while, but I haven't been using as much equipment and recording or editing like these people can, and they're really good at it. They put together some really well produced videos, and their footage and editing and all these, and it brings a lot of interest to it. So I feel like I kind of fall short with what I'm trying to present, but I also feel like I have an edge on them with things being unedited.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. And that is a challenge because I guess people are so used to, like you said, something that's been cleaned up and produced very well and all of that.
Yeah.
And they'll typically say, well, this person cares more than this person because this person doesn't have all of this stuff going on, and that's just not true, is it?
No. I don't think so.
Yeah. So, how do you decide? Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to elaborate on that. I think like some of the channels, like those viewers that are watching them want to see things. They want to see evidence and action, and to sit through things and just wait it out, I think is harder to keep the attention of the viewers too.
Right.
And that's another thing that I kind of worry about, because and there's some really good channels that go out and their viewers are patient and they like what they see. And I think there's some really legit channels out there that get some good evidence and use their equipment and people follow along, and it's not where things are happening constantly in their videos.
Right.
So I think that's a struggle too with paranormal channels like me, where you kind of have to hold yourself up to channels that have fakery and a lot of stuff going on at once, because that's what their viewers want to see and it keeps them captivated.
Right. Well, it's the immediate gratification thing that they're after. Yeah. And I agree with you. I feel like there are a lot of channels that are overlooked. Do you have any channels that you feel get overlooked that you like to watch?
Yeah, I like to watch Ghosts on Trent. I think they're really good. They're a little bit slower paced with their evidence, but it's because they're real about it. I really enjoy that channel just because the guys are very genuine when they're on investigations and their research. Yeah. Trying to think of some others that do it. I really like Adelaide Haunted Horizons. Those ladies, they're fun to watch. They use a lot of different equipment, and just how they approach their their investigations is really fun. They
Mm.
make it enjoyable, but I don't feel that they're faking it all. And it's hard to say if this stuff is, real or not, because it always is that way. But like I said, they're fun to watch.
Right.
And they enjoy doing it together and sharing with their viewers. And I don't feel that they fake any of their evidence.
Right. Yeah, they don't put off those vibes.
Yeah, they
I
just
think you're
have,
right.
responses and stuff with the equipment that they use, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that there's an element of humor to your videos. How do you decide on the balance between the humor and serious investigation in your videos? And do you feel that it's important to keep a sense of humor in your field?
Yeah, I think there is, like, some of the stuff that you can't explain or some evidence that you get. Yeah, you can laugh about it. And like, even in the live that I did, like, I was wandering around in the dark and hoping I wasn't going to get sprayed by a skunk. And I like being funny, and I like being a dork with my viewers and just being myself. And there's a time to be serious and buckle down. And then there's also a time to, enjoy what you're doing. If you're not enjoying it, then why are you doing it?
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. There are plenty of jobs that you can do that you can hate. So yeah, why even why do it if you don't enjoy it? Especially when there's no monetary gain. That just doesn't make any sense. So working at Spirit Halloween must be a dream job for any horror fan.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. What's
No, it's okay. I hear a lot of people that say, "Hey, I wish I was working there," and all that, but yeah, it's just for fun.
Yeah.
I don't know about dream job, but
yeah, it's something fun to do, and it's a seasonal thing, of course.
Yeah, sometimes the job part of it takes away the fun part of it, but
yeah,
really, it's like Christmas to me. So I go in and like play with everything. It's fun. So
and you get to see things before they're put out as well.
Yeah.
Like you get to see whatever's new and stuff like that. So that must be fun.
Yeah, it's good and bad because I know what I'll be spending my money on. Yeah.
So, do you have any plans to expand your channel's content beyond what you're already doing? Maybe deeper dive into horror films or other like content?
Yeah, I do want to do some like horror movie reviews with people and with my viewers, and maybe just do some reaction videos. I have one reaction video I want to do Thursday for fun. So not all of my channel is going to be paranormal research. I want a lot of it based horror stuff and something different because I think people need that. People like horror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean that's what the channel, having your own channel, is about, is expressing and sharing who you are. So if you have this intrigue for horror and stuff like that, I'm interested to see those kinds of videos from you because I like horror as well. It's not my life, but there was a time when it was all I watched.
Yeah.
So I totally get into the season, and with Halloween being such a significant time of year, what are some of your favorite ways to celebrate, both personally and on your channel?
With Halloween?
Hmm?
Yeah. I like throwing Halloween parties when I can. I've done it with I've had friends over and with kids, and so it's fun. I like doing the gory food and decorating, and yeah. I like doing different events around town too. They do a Rocky Horror Picture Show where it's interactive with everybody. So you watch the movie and dress up, and it's kind of like an adult party. I think I'm gonna do some, Halloween related things on my channel too. Like maybe throw my own Halloween party on my channel.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was something that you would do. And
I kind of like the spin-off with my my cooking stuff too, because I think I'll do like some walkthroughs of how to do scary food, just for fun.
Right.
How to make certain things, because some people don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the cemetery again because that just intrigues me. In your opinion, I think, what's the most understood aspect of working in a cemetery? Is there something that people often get wrong about your job?
A lot of people think it's, I don't know. I've had interviews with people why they want to work at a cemetery, and they're like, oh, it'll be cool. I like cemeteries and scary stuff, and they kind of have it all wrong. Like, it's not. At night, I'm sure it gets super dark, and I'm sure the whole darkness is scary. But to me, I don't feel like the cemetery is haunted. I feel like if anything's there, they're just visiting or just curious. And the grave digging part isn't like your old time grave digger. You're not really out there with a shovel. I use a backhoe to dig the graves, and it's a lot of physical work and maintenance, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes besides burying somebody.
Right. And I mean, so you mentioned you don't feel that it's haunted, so you haven't heard any eerie stories about the cemetery you work in, I suppose?
No.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, it was a question I had to ask. I mean...
No, it's okay. Yeah, I haven't had anything odd happen. I've had some things happen in some other cemeteries, but not anything like this in my cemetery.
Okay. Well, when you're not investigating or working, what do you do to unwind? Do you ever take a break from all the spooky stuff?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I like to draw. I like to paint. I like music. I like playing my violin and trying to learn the guitar. Because my dad's been playing since I was little, so music's always been part of my life. I really love drawing, though. I have a lot of people ask me to draw tattoo art for them, and
right, I noticed you have some very beautiful tattoos.
Thanks.
And did you draw those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, what's one thing about your job you think that would surprise most people?
That's hard. I don't know. I think maybe, like I said, the physical part of it. Well, no, it's like we do a lot of office stuff too, like the cost of things. Buying a plot isn't cheap. And then burying the caskets, if you do a full body casket, it has to go inside of a vault, which is a giant plastic box, and it's something else that you pay for because you can't have the grave sinking like in the old times, and it just gives more support in the grave. And people are not buried 6 feet deep anymore. They're buried down 4.5 feet, and we have to have 9 inches of dirt on top of the casket.
Yeah.
Just to have enough between the casket and the surface. I don't think a lot of people know those kind of technical things that go into it. So.
Right, I did not. We always hear about 6 feet deep. So, yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, 6 feet was just to keep people from grave robbing, to make it harder to access
the
casket.
And that is definitely not as big of a danger as it once was.
No, people don't.
Excuse me.
People that I know of, people don't rob the graves. We have people steal things in the cemetery, though.
Oh, yeah?
Sadly, yeah, they steal the flowers. They'll steal nice pots of flowers. I'm like,
and then
that's
go
horrible.
give it to their girlfriend.
I don't
baby,
know.
you shouldn't
it's pretty
have.
Morbid. Yeah. Where'd you find them at? Here, Mom. Mother's Day gift. It's a little messed up.
Yeah.
Or they take them home for their own personal use. I don't know. But yeah, I was a little shocked to hear that people do that.
Yeah, that's nuts. People are something. Anything to save a buck.
Right?
Even go against their own morality, I suppose.
Yeah.
Was it worth it? Every time you look at that pot of plants, you're going to think, I stole those from some dead person. I would.
God.
I would.
That's so bad.
Yeah. If you could go back and give your younger self some advice about the career path that you've chosen, what would you say?
I never would have expected to be doing what I'm doing right now. So I'd probably tell myself, just throw your plans out because it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, seldomly do the dreams and aspirations of a teenager completely fulfill into fruition in their adult life. So
yeah,
it was a question I figured I'd ask you because it's really intriguing to me how someone like you who loves horror the way you do and the paranormal finds a job at a cemetery and at Spirit Halloween. I mean, obviously it's like you're in control of what you're looking for, but I'm sure younger you never would have thought one day I'm going to be working at a cemetery.
No, my younger self wanted to be a marine biologist and a veterinarian.
Right.
And I did start off down that path, but that's not what happened. I went to school for a semester at Carroll College, which the bishops are buried in my cemetery, and I work for a Catholic diocese for that cemetery, which is interesting because it's kind of like a whole 180 on the whole where I started till now. But I went there and took pre-veterinary and was a technician for quite a while, and then I discovered I didn't want to live my life in a vet clinic because they're there like overnights on call 24/7, like to certain days, and I didn't want to do that. I was like, I'm not gonna commit myself that much to it. Right. Some people are great with it, and that's their passion, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, okay, again, bringing up that you work at Spirit Halloween, do you have any tips, let's see, for people who might be thinking about putting together a haunted house? What would you think would make the perfect haunted house? What should people absolutely include?
That's such a cute question. You have to have a fog machine. I have a fog machine, so it just adds to the eerie of it, some good lighting, and maybe some just unexpected scary stuff. Like one year I decorated the yard with zombies and severed hands and feet and zombie deer and zombie squirrels and the hazards, and then like I tied in the food with the theme, so it was like zombie related food stuff, brain shots and brain jello molds and just creepy stuff. So.
Brain shots. What is included in a brain shot?
It's the cherry. What is it called? I can't say it. There's cream in it that kind of curdles and makes it look like the brains, and okay. I'd have to look up the recipe for you because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Fair enough. I know you probably weren't prepared for that. So
yeah, you mix the alcohol first and then add the cherry coloring. You don't put the cherries in, just the juice part of it, and then the cream that's added in it is what looks like the brains.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then you ingest gross. That. Yeah, they're gross. They don't taste good.
They're gross too. Yeah, they look gross and they taste gross. They'll like send you over the edge real quick though.
Oh yeah, so they work.
That's pretty quick, yeah. But
okay.
As for taste and all that, I wasn't too fond of it.
Fair enough.
I don't like zombies anyways. I think zombies are scary. If anything scared me, it's zombies.
Yeah. What about running zombies?
You can't kill the dead if they're already dead. Like Resident Evil scared the crap out of me. So you go in a room and there's nothing there, and turn around and there's a zombie and you're dead because you can't aim for the head and it's too late and he's killed you. It jumps out at you. So I have nightmares about zombies.
Damn.
Yeah, so yeah, I
Yeah.
try not to watch like Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead, and they're good movies, but I just don't watch them because I'll have nightmares.
Right. Can
You
you
know what?
hear?
One was really creepy. Was Creep Show, the first
Yeah.
scene with the yeah.
Creep Show is that's a classic. I love that you brought that up. What's the most bizarre or funny thing that's happened to you while working during the Halloween season? Can you think of anything like that?
Mm,
No, not so much.
no,
Okay,
not really.
fair enough. Some of these questions are hit and miss, so I prepare ahead of time, not knowing much about the person and their background. So I apologize if some of the questions that I present are shot down.
Okay.
But if you had okay, how about this? If you were to choose a horror movie that you could live in for 24 hours, which one would it be and why?
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, you think you can make it 24 hours in against Jason?
Yeah, I'm pretty good
Jason's mother.
surviving the camp life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Jason anyway, so but I think I could probably go up against him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I wouldn't fuck with you. Excuse me. Some people argue that horror movies desensitize viewers to real fear. I don't see how. Do you feel that, or do you feel that's just a silly argument?
I think that people want to be scared. It gives them that kind of rush. I don't know. People watch scary movies because they know it's scary.
Sure.
Some of them know that it's not real. Some are based on true stories, but I think everybody, like, well, the people that love horror, not all people like horror movies, but they want to be scared. You know, that's the fun of it. But as for real life, no. I don't think anybody wants to actually be scared.
Sure.
Or something. Like, I know, like, the experiences I had, I don't want to feel like that again, where, like, it's, you know, your adrenaline rushes and then it's fight or flight.
Yeah.
Literally fight or flight.
Right. And that's I've been there. I've been in fight or flight. That's hard to think straight. Mm-hmm. And you may be running up the stairs when you should be running out the front door.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Typical horror movie move. That they don't do.
Right. Halloween is a massive cultural phenomenon. How do you feel about the commercialization of the holiday? Do you think it takes away from the true spirit of Halloween?
No, I don't. I think, you know, it was based off, like, paganism. I'm not quite sure, but, you know, like, just the history of it. I like the history of it, but I think with all the holidays, I think most people celebrate Christmas, and Halloween's just always been my favorite, so I wouldn't want to change the way it is.
Yeah, I feel that. I love the time. I love it too. It's one of my favorite times of year. Yeah, especially now that I have a little boy, and it's mostly about him. Yeah. Yeah,
everything about it's fun, so it doesn't have to be scary.
Sure.
You just, you know, pumpkins and the feeling of it, fall, apple cider, hay rides, mazes.
Yeah.
Pumpkin patches are my favorite. So.
Yeah, I've been doing that recently, the past couple of years with Gavin. Actually, ever since he was born, I was taking him out there. Not, you know, ever since he was born and we were having Halloween, I should say. Yeah, it's a fun thing to do. If you could have dinner with any horror movie villain, who would it be and what would you ask him?
I would have dinner with Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what would you be eating?
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm like eating a steak and he's eating a piece of person.
Yes. Potentially you.
That's pretty more... Well, it could be. Like, it's pretty morbid, but I would like to tap into his brain.
Right. Ray Liotta had dinner with Hannibal Lecter, and it didn't go so well for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, a guy was eating part of his brain. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So
It's okay. It probably was like a surprise response. Like, I don't think you were expecting that one.
I wasn't, but it's a great answer. It's a phenomenal answer. What would you ask him?
How do people taste?
Yeah. Well, you know he'd offer you a bite at that point.
No, it would lead to the quid pro quo stuff where I have to answer a question for him to answer a question. It would be like a very interesting conversation, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree. He's very smart, very intellectual, and just fucked up. But, all right, yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. The evolution of horror films. You know, do you prefer the classics, or do you enjoy the direction modern horror is taken? Or is it just, you don't really think about it, you just like horror?
Well, yeah, I like all of it. I think some of the newer stuff is garbage. Like the Pope Exorcist one, I couldn't even watch that one. I was like, this. But then some of the newer ones are really good, really funny. Like I like the Terrifier ones. They were newer. They're like the 2000 ones. The classic 80 ones just have a certain feel to them that you can't ever get over. So
yeah,
I enjoyed them, I think, the most. I'd rather go back and watch an 80s horror than sit through like a newer one that might be not scary or, you know.
Yeah.
That garbage. I think the B horror films are really underrated too.
Yeah.
Fun to watch.
Do you have one in particular that comes to mind? A good B-rated horror film?
That's a good question.
Like Sleepaway Camp, or
yes, that one was good.
Yeah.
I like Sleepaway Camp. Night of the Demons.
Oh, that one's I love that one. That one truly is like the makeup of Angela is terrifying. It's terrifying. And it's she's just there to have a party. Yeah. I do love that one. I'm glad you brought that one up. Yeah, that one's great. That was great.
I have to go off camera for a quick second, so
okay. Yes, that's fine.
Hear me.
Okay, fair enough. That's fine.
Okay,
that's fine.
you.
So I can ask you questions.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. As someone who loves horror, what do you think makes a horror movie truly great? Is it the story, the atmosphere, the scares, or something else entirely?
I think the backstories are really important to have, like, because, you know, the villain, you want to, like, kind of, you almost can relate to the villain and I can't talk. Sympathize.
There you go. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that part's awesome, but you have to have like the suspense part.
Right.
Yeah. Something that really gets you thinking. Like, there's been some films that I've watched where you think you have it figured out, and then there's a twist.
Yes.
A really good example was The Black Butterfly, and it wasn't really a horror movie. It was kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but I thought I had it figured out, like the whole thing, but the end just really gets you. Like, oh, you were wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
I think The Others is a movie much like that, where you think you know what's going on, and then all of a sudden you find out that you had none of it put together. Or The Sixth Sense. Now, The Sixth Sense isn't really a horror movie, but I watched that whenever it came out.
Right, and it was really good too.
Yeah, and then I remember watching it and I thought, well, that's stupid. This doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense. And then I watched it recently to see if that still was true the way I originally thought about it, and it was really, none of that was true, because my thought was, you know, the anniversary thing, right, where she says, I love you, or whatever, you know, he's sitting there and he's no, happy anniversary is what she says. And you think that they're having, she's mad at him because he was late to their anniversary. And just the reality of it was that she didn't see him. She didn't know he was there at all. And, I don't know. It just, again, it's not a horror film, but it's one of those that makes you think. What's the most underappreciated horror film, in your opinion? Something that you think more people should watch?
The St. Francisville Project.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, see,
Yeah.
very underrated.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the Paranormal Investigators. It's a group of kids that are going into a plantation home for research. They're doing a documentary, actually, kind of film, and they're filming it. It reminded me a lot of the Blair Witch, but they're actually in a haunted plantation home, and they go over the history of it, and it's really believable. It's not. I mean, it's obviously fake because it's
Right.
a
So
horror
is
movie,
it filmed? Is it filmed like the Blair Witch, where it's like?
Yeah, we're like,
Okay.
It's like real life with these actors.
Gotcha.
Everything. It's really cool. It's
Okay.
Like,
I enjoy those movies a lot. Well, the Blair Witch, I think the Blair Witch is a phenomenal film. Out of all of those,
too.
yeah, out of all of those types of films, I like that one, I think, the most. And my second favorite is something called, oh darn it, something Creek, not Boggy Creek, but anyway, Bobcat Goldthwait directed it, and it's only about an hour long. It's a very short film, but it's so good. It's about Bigfoot.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah, and it's filmed much like that, and it's done really well. So yeah, I will watch that. I might even watch what you're talking about tonight.
It's fun. I mean, I think they put it together really well. It seems real, but it's a horror movie. But
right.
Yeah, it's a lot like the Blair Witch. I liked the Blair Witch. I know people make fun of that one a lot, because of the girl and all that. But I've been lost in the woods, so I know like how scary that is. Like, and that woods that they were in, I could see getting turned around.
Sure.
Like, you can't go up anywhere to see your way. I mean, no wonder they went in circles.
Yeah.
Like, if you really got lost in a place like that, you'd have to really pick out, like landmarks or mark areas where you've been to get out of somewhere like that.
Yeah. I always felt like and then of course it's just my imagination doing it, but I think that's one of the reasons why I love the movie, is because it plays on the imagination of the viewer so well, which is a lost art. You don't have that anymore.
Right.
But I always felt that the reason why they were lost had nothing to do with their compass and everything to do with whatever was in the woods. It was keeping them lost because it had some sort of plan for them. But I think that's kind of an undertone that's put into the movie anyway.
Yeah.
But that movie's phenomenal. Why do you think so many people are, if you're into horror, often you are into the paranormal? Why do you think that is?
Do you mean the relation of the two?
I guess not so much. I mean, it could be. What is it that you think that draws? If you're into one, you're usually into the other. So why do you think that is?
Maybe it's just the curiosity of it.
Yeah.
Just to find ghosts, I guess. Like, watch horror movies and then you're like, oh, I love being scared and stuff, so let's go to a ghost tour and see what we can find, and it just kind of starts from there. But,
right.
Yeah, with a lot of people. I think a lot of people that like horror like being scared and they want to do something that's actually scary.
Yeah, a fair answer. All right, let's use our creativity. And if you could create your own horror movie character, what would they be like, and what kind of horror would they bring?
Well, I'm working on a horror novel.
Okay.
So, but
we're just learning all kinds of wonderful things about you. So you're working on a horror novel. Okay, tell me about it.
Yeah, but it's not. There's not like one main character, evil character, in this horror book. That's based off the mines. So we'll say that it has to do with miners being trapped and die in the mine.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know how much more I'm gonna elaborate.
You
'Cause
sure?
I don't
Sure,
wanna give
sure.
away my book, but I think
I wouldn't want to do that.
yeah.
In the world of horror, remakes and reboots are, I mean, it's a hot topic, right? It's almost every year we've got some sort of remake or some sort of reboot. What are your opinions? And do you think there are any remakes that actually outshine the original?
Wow, that's a good question there. I don't really think they outshine the original. I know Pet Cemetery was one of them. I really loved the original movie. I enjoyed watching the series. You know, it was a series. Yeah. But I don't think they can really hold up to what the original is.
Yeah, I forgot about the series. Do you remember the Nightmare on Elm Street series?
Yeah.
Where Freddy was the sort of like the crypt keeper.
Right.
You know, yeah,
it was a good different perspective.
And there was a Friday the 13th show too, as well. It was kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one.
I remember the one story I remember from that was people would get these tattoos, and then the tattoos would come to life.
Oh, that's neat.
It would like someone got a scorpion tattooed on them, and it came to life, and it stung them, it stung the person and killed them, And I remember all this white shit coming out of their mouth. As a child, that was very like, holy shit, I don't ever want a tattoo,
Yeah, right.
But you talking about Pet Cemetery, that just sent a bunch of flashbacks in my head and stuff I haven't thought about in years. I think as far as the remakes go, I think that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was probably the best one. I do think that the new Hellraiser was pretty good in a lot of ways. Hellraiser is an acquired taste. The original Hellraiser, for me, they're good, but they're not like other horror films, which is one of the reasons why I think they're good. But it's, again, and I say this about certain things, but it's one of those movies that afterwards I really feel like I need to take a shower. There's just this weird dinginess to it. But the remake, or the reboot, I should say, has that element to it. But yeah, it's hard to find one that's actually better than the others. Like, I can't stand the Rob Zombie Halloweens. I think they're trash. I will die on that hill.
Right. Yeah. The only one of Rob Zombie that I liked was The Monster. Was it The Monsters?
Oh, I didn't watch that.
Yeah, that one was cute. I really like that one. I like The Monsters anyway, but Lily is just adorable in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. So I like that one a lot. It's just fun.
Yeah. I did enjoy The Devil's Rejects, which I know that those movies... I have not watched The Three from Hell. I've yet to watch that. Because you have to be in a mood to watch those films. But, I criticize a lot of things that Rob Zombie does. Yeah. But that film... What I liked about it was how they humanized the bad guy in it. And it was something that you don't typically see. It's the whole Tutti Frutti scene where they're wanting ice cream, Right. I love that because it shows that the dude loves his sister. Because we're not getting fucking ice cream, and then it cuts, and now they're eating ice cream, and she's happy as fuck, and he's pissed off. It's like, because he loves her, and it's like, I don't know. I thought that was really well done. If you were to recommend one horror film to someone new to the genre, what would it be and why?
It depends on how scared you want them to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a good classic horror movie would be Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, excellent. I love that rendition of Dracula myself. Dracula is the greatest love story ever told, I believe. To me, it is a love story, and a lot of people overlook that.
Right.
So, good answer. And I like the just how they incorporated Vlad the Impaler. Yeah. Because that's really Vlad Tepes.
Right.
And a lot of people, I don't know if they understand this, but his father was Dracul, right? Which is the dragon. And Dracula means son of the dragon. A lot of people I don't think, realize that. That's a nice little tidbit of information there. Yeah.
I think that would be a good introduction movie into the horror because it's not completely gory and stuff, and it's just a really good horror film.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the work that they did with the shadows, like Dracula's shadow. You know, it's always doing something different than he is. You know, and it just adds an element of there's just an extra creep factor to it.
Yeah.
You know, Francis Ford Coppola is a great director. I know he's moody and all, but when you're making masterpieces like this, I think you have to be a little moody. You know, so there are horror films that rely on gore, and then there are those that rely on psychological tension. Which do you prefer?
I like the gore.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets ridiculous, doesn't
I would
it?
say, yeah. The slasher films, I think, are my favorite. The gore, and then the, psychological ones. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm not, like, as interested in the suspense kind of thinking about it, kind of scary.
Right.
Maybe I just want that instant scare.
That instant gratification that we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier.
Yeah, me
Although
too.
it's okay. It's okay when you're dealing with horror films. I can understand it.
Yeah.
What's a horror movie that you've seen recently that impressed you?
I watched, probably can't say it very well, Insidious. Yeah.
Okay.
That one was really good. When they have to go find the child and go into this other realm part of it.
Right.
Yeah, that was intense. It kind of makes your emotions, like, because I, for one, don't like children at all getting hurt in the horror films. Like, it really, like, tugs at me.
Yeah, me
just
too.
My empathy and stuff. Like, Pet Cemetery is one of them. I hate when the little boy gets hit. It makes me sick.
Right.
That little boy getting lost in that movie, and the demon having him. That demon's scary.
Yeah.
Like, for a little kid.
Sure.
Yeah, like that one. It was a good movie. It was hard to watch, a little bit, but
yeah,
there's a happy ending of it. And then Pumpkinhead gets to me really bad. Like, it's a good movie, but I hate the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand, like,
poor Billy.
it was just hard to watch.
Yeah, that's. I believe I've said this before. I think Pumpkinhead is the perfect horror film because one reason is because of that. Like, I'm the same way. Anything that, and it doesn't have to be a horror movie. Anything where children are harmed, I have a hard time. It triggers me. And not in like an angry way, but in a very like hollow, empty, my God, that's awful kind of way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that and Evil Dead Rise. I don't know if you've seen that, but there are children in that suffer and become demons. Spoiler alert. I should have said that before, but regardless, it's just one of those things that, damn it, they could have done without that. But again, I think the sense of great loss is a good tool to have in a horror film. So I can understand why they target things like that, because it does. Yeah. We're not alone in the way we feel when it comes to children being hurt. So
yeah.
If you could change the ending to any horror movie, what would it be and why? What would you change? What would you make different about it? There's plenty I could think of, but yeah, it's one of those that.
Oh.
No, you don't.
You got some really tough questions on that. Like, trying to pick at my brain on.
Yeah, I asked the real questions here.
Yeah, I know. I think honestly, I would change the ending of Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like where they went with the second one with
Mm-hmm.
Billy's mom,
Right.
but I think if they had one of the main characters actually come back like the viewers want and change, like maybe one of them actually didn't die and then there's revenge or something, because then it was just hard for me to swallow like all the relatives involved with it. I'm like,
Right.
come on now, you can't all be serial killers in Billy's family.
Right.
Like, come on. Like, I don't know. Like, it was just a little much, but
And
I
little,
love those movies. But I think I probably would have changed the ending. Like,
yeah.
but then it would change the whole sequence of events. Like, it might have even changed the second one, and the second one was really good too with Billy's mom.
Played by Jackie from Roseanne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And she's crazy. Like, she's crazy now.
I think that's an homage to Friday the 13th, you know, because it's the mother that was the killer for the, you know, the original, you know, and I see a lot of parallels in those movies. They're self-aware in a lot of ways, which I think is what makes them so fun. And they can still, they're not really breaking the fourth wall, but they're still legit horror films. And I think that's what makes Scream such an interesting franchise, you know. And then, of course, obviously it's in the same realm as Jay and Silent Bob, because they made an appearance in, was it 3 or 4? You know, and again, it's just the self-awareness of it all that I think make those movies stand out a bit more than others.
Yeah.
Too bad Wes Craven passed away. I was thinking about that earlier, too.
Right. I liked all of his cameos and like hidden things that he put in his movies.
Yeah.
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 I think Scream when it came out was such a good film because it jumped from like the 80s horror right into the 90s feel. Like,
Yeah.
completely has two different feels, but it's still classic to that decade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your favorite creature feature film?
I like Puppet Master.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Puppet Master.
Yeah. Me too. I have Blade sitting up here. One of my favorites. Just
He's cool.
I love the different puppets and what they do, and of course as the lore went on you learn that these puppets have a backstory.
Yeah, you almost feel sad for like when they lose their master and stuff.
Yeah, I know, and
like,
they seem so sad.
Even though they're like evil, like
yeah,
you feel for the little things because they just lost somebody that
that they love. Right. Yeah. And like Leech Woman was actually Toulon's wife.
Yeah.
Forever immortalized. I'm sure she just loves him for that. Like, I could have passed on and gone to heaven, but no, I'm going to throw up leeches on people for the rest of my eternity.
Right.
Thank you, Toulon. I love you so much.
Yeah.
Do you think that horror movies today are more about shock value than storytelling?
Yeah, I would say like you definitely got the gore factor in it versus like, you know, Terrifier is one of them.
Right.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like pretty graphic stuff, and Saw, like you get like the reasoning behind why he's doing it, but it's still like all gore.
Right.
And it's a lot of like thinking involved too, like the puzzles and stuff, and like the first one was really good. Like it really gets you, you know.
Yeah. Do you think there are still films that get the balance right, you know, between shock and storytelling? You see anything like that where it's like, wow, they did a really good job of just keeping it, you know, 50-50 on this?
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything lately. I watched some on Netflix that were really good. The Haunting of, I think it was The Haunting of Hill Manor, something like that. But yeah, it was really good.
Is that a film or a series?
It was a movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not a series, but it was actually, and it's quite long. It's one where like the sister kills herself,
Oh wow.
and it goes through the whole like grief, the funeral home, and she's haunting. Like you see, like, and it's spooky. Like the clips of her haunting the places, and they figure out like why she hung herself.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. And I think that horror tied in with the storyline was really good, like put together.
Yeah. The portrayal of women in horror films. I see, you know, a lot of times they are strong characters. They're the survivor, you know, Laurie Strode, or even Friday the 13th, the lone survivor was a woman.
Yeah.
Do you think there are also plenty where it's not that way? You know, it's women in distress and all that. Do you think there's room for improvement in the genre?
I think it'd be more interesting to have a guy survive. Like you're right. I think like it's really easy to victimize a woman because they're not as strong and like the villains can really overpower them. But I think Saw was one where the man escapes, and that was good. But I think they should definitely use that because it'd make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Just throw in a little bit more.
Right. Or Get Out. Yeah, I see somebody mention Get Out. Did you see that one?
Mm-mm.
No, that's a strange horror film. I believe what's his name? Guy that's doing People Under the Stairs this time. Jordan Peele.
Okay.
Yeah, I like his horror. Have you watched any of his films? There's Us. I think he did Us. Yeah. His take on horror, I think, is refreshing. I think he's doing a really good job as far as making horror films. And I'm really interested to see The People Under the Stairs because I love the original. You know, I've only watched it a handful of times, but it's really good. And every time I see that the kid who played Roach in anything, that's just who I think of him as. He's Roach, you know.
Yeah.
But what about horror movie tropes that you find particularly frustrating or overused?
Well, I think they definitely. You mean exactly like the concept of it, like the plot story? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Typical things that just seem to always be there. Is there anything that, is there anything that just, it's like, oh my God, another one of these, you know, or...
Probably the Vengeful Mother.
Yeah.
There's a lot of films with that too. And then maybe just the whole certain ways that they kill people. Redundant, like not as creative, I suppose.
Yeah. The opening scene to Children of the Corn, the original.
Yeah.
That sticks with me, and it has my whole life. Where they're taking elderly people and putting their hands in the blender, for crying out loud. It really, that's one I don't think that uses typical tropes. And He Who Walks Behind the Rose. I always got that wrong because I didn't realize that rose was spelled R-O-W-S. I thought we were talking about a flower, but it's, rows of corn. That's what they're talking about. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like that one stands out as something that's completely, of course, again, now when we're talking about children who are not the children that you want to have coming over to your birthday party. But yeah, that's just one of those, I think that it's a classic, but it's a classic for a reason. And I was just curious about your outlook on that, because for me, when I watch a horror film, one of the reasons why I stopped is because of the repetitiveness and the unoriginality of it all. So
right. Yeah.
Most creative death scene you think you've ever seen in a horror movie?
Let me think on that one for a minute.
I know, right? There's so many.
I think the one that stands out the most, well, the Terrifier when he's cutting the girl in half.
Oh, yeah.
That's a shocker. Like, not realistic. Like, I don't know how you would even saw a body in half with that dull saw, but
it would take a long time.
Yeah, it was like, and he's going quick at it like he's flying fish, but that was horrible analogy right there.
Right. Well, I think well, that movie's all about gore, you know, and of course you get away with a lot in horror films, so
yeah,
it doesn't have to make sense always, but Hobo with a Shotgun, it's not a horror film, but the guy who played Ricky from Trailer Park Boys, the opening scene of that movie, they have this like manhole cover around his neck and a chain that's attached to a car, and he's in the manhole, you know, and they take off driving and pop his head off. That I think is a very creative and very brutal way to go. My God, that'd be awful.
Right.
Have your head ripped off like that. If you had to survive in a horror movie scenario, one horror movie scenario, like zombie apocalypse, haunted house, slasher film, what would you choose? Your
questions. Holy cow. You can't outrun the villain, obviously. You definitely have to hide and outsmart them. Like, I think the most frustrating part is when, like, the victim has their villain and they go to kill him and then they hang around. Why are you hanging around? You need you need to know that he's actually dead. Like, right. I'd be out of there. Like, instead they're like, oh, and then he like wakes up and comes after them again, you know? Like, to me, I'd be like, kill him and get the hell out.
Yeah.
Like, or, you know, surprise them instead and then kill them.
Right.
The hiding factor would be a big one for me.
All right, let's switch to paranormal. I love the horror questions, but a lot of people want to talk about paranormal stuff. I'm sure you're included. I love talking about it. When you first started investigating the paranormal, what was the biggest misconception that you had, and how'd you get past that?
I think the biggest misconception was that the ghosts were scary.
Okay.
Like, I think dehumanizing them.
Right.
I think when you finally get to that level, you look at things in a different perspective, like with what you're searching for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you go from like the faker channels, like wanting to be scared and like screaming demon. I'll use that a lot because that's what they do, because they want viewers. But I think when you go into it, looking at it, like, what if it was somebody I knew that's passed away still here? How would you react to that?
Yeah.
Would it frighten you, or would you be like, how do you help this person? But then you have some bad things happen, and then your thinking on it completely changes. So
yeah, that's a good point. Because really, if ghosts are the spirits of people who have passed on, sure, the idea of something happening in your house can be scary. You know, like you said, the thing smashing the stuff off the table.
Right.
I'm sure it startled you, right?
Yeah.
But there was a person behind that. You know, theoretically, there was a person behind that. So, yeah, I see what you mean. That you know, Hollywood's kind of made this idea, or even just ghost stories. It's not even Hollywood. It goes back further than Hollywood. And
Yeah.
Chicago, because Chicago was the original Hollywood of the United States back in the 30s. Yeah, I can get on board with what you're saying. What's the most significant challenge you face when you're conducting an investigation? Is it dealing with skeptics, or the environment, or the people that are around you, or typically how do you? I meant to ask you this earlier. When you go to investigate, you investigate alone most of the time?
I had, yeah. Mm-hmm. Or I'd go with my girlfriends to places, but lately a lot of mine are groups now. And I did some last year, but I think the hardest part is like going into those things with people with different mindsets and different expectations on why they're doing their investigations, and then being able to be around that. And I'm not one that likes the whole group setting,
Right.
just because of the hype, or
Yeah.
just how I investigate is different too, and my feelings involved in it.
Is it easy to find like-minded people who kind of think the way you do about it, or do you find that you're working with people who have entirely different perspectives?
I think the perspective's different. I think some of these people, like in the tour group that go into it, thinks they're on an expert level because they use equipment and they're doing these things, and it's like nobody is an expert in the paranormal field. Like you have your own experiences and they're personal, but I don't feel like anybody's an expert on what they're doing.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a professional ghost hunter.
I think some people are more knowledgeable or more in tune to the environment and spiritualism, but using equipment and things, like I definitely am not as experienced using certain equipment because I don't use it. There's some that I don't even have. And then I don't really want to use it either. Like I just like going in and having hands-on experiences without recording it. I've used like a camera the most.
Okay. Well, speaking of equipment, you've seen a lot of equipment used in investigations. So we mentioned underrated earlier. What do you think is overrated, and why?
I think the overrated ones that are used the most are probably the REM pods. I think they might be more faulty. I think a lot of them like go off because they've got a malfunction or battery related. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like I think anything that has like a battery source, you can't really completely rely on all the time because they might just malfunction.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then the people using other things to set things off.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like they found out how to set equipment off using their phone or whatever, but
yeah. Excuse me, my mouth was dry.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced anything during an investigation that just made you rethink your approach to investigations?
Well, this last one really, I think after I got past the part where I don't want to be around other people investigating, it was actually just fun to sit and observe everything and see how they responded or what they did. And then the whole, like the energy of it and everything was different as well.
Right. So you're a people watcher. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched the people and what they were doing more than the kind of responses we got. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting, but why is this going off like this,
Yeah.
Because when we were in the church, we had one K2 up on the pier that would go off. And at the same time, this girl was holding a K2 in her hand, and it was going off the same time the one up there was going off. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, how can the energy be up there and by her at the same time and they're both going off? And then I had mine off to the side on a desk, and it wasn't doing anything. So that was like, I couldn't figure out what was going on there. And it kind of looked like their K2s were a little different from mine.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, that kind of... See, reasons like that, what you're talking about, where, how can it be up there and down here? Mm-hmm. I tend to think that... I don't think ghosts are invisible people walking around. I know I've said it before, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat have heard me, are probably sick of hearing me say that, but I will say it anyway. I don't think that they're invisible people walking around. I think it's more than likely some sort of... And Kenny Biddle will take a drink every time I say the word energy, but have fun drinking, Kenny.
I believe in the energy.
I think that there is some sort of sentient energy that maybe inhabits the whole house. Particularly, that could be why, you know, you were getting reads on one thing and not the other, or it could just be something completely explainable that we're not considering at all. But you know, theories like that are fun. Well, it's not even a theory; it's a thought. I've had since speaking with Kenny Biddle, I am a little bit more careful about how I word things. But I'll say energy all day long if it means he's going to drink some rum. I'm going to get that man slaughtered.
Right.
Have you ever had to debunk something that you really wanted to be paranormal?
I'm not sure on that one. Like,
yeah.
I think when you and I were talking about the photograph that I had. But then again, like, I don't think you can debunk it.
Right.
The orbs. Like, I know, like, you're kind of anti-orb, but...
Well, I wouldn't say anti-orb, but it takes a lot for an orb to impress me.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, you don't... Maybe, I don't know if you've seen a lot of them, but I've witnessed them crossing rooms.
With your eyes, even.
Yeah, it wasn't like dust particles or anything like that. This orb started over on one part of the room over by the closet and moved over where I had put a piece of paper and a pen down and said, if anyone wanted to communicate with us tonight, and I was in my 20s just messing around in this room that was supposedly haunted, and sure enough, there was an orb that crossed from the closet over to that piece of paper. And I watched it, and I took a picture with my camera and got the orb on that one photo that I took.
Yeah.
And then it glowed brighter by the paper and then was gone.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the thing when I was little, when I saw, like, you know, the white figure and then it was just gone. Like, couldn't see it anymore.
Right.
But maybe the energy's there all the time, like you said. Like, it could explain in the church why, like, the K2s were both going off at the same time. Maybe the energy is, like, so expanded across that such and such feet that we don't see it, and who knows what's possible.
Yeah.
Like, it's really something to think about, because, like, maybe there wasn't one person standing there and there. Maybe it was a broader spectrum of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. For people who don't, because she mentioned that I talked with her about some pictures. She's brought some things to me and asked my opinion about them. That's what she's talking about, and that's why what she's bringing up. Some people might be like, "What did I miss?" You didn't miss anything. It was just, no, you're fine. So it was one of those things where I looked at it, was like, that definitely is interesting. It's hard for me with pictures if I could see video of it, but you're saying you saw something with your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a rare thing. That's a rare thing. I've yet to experience that. I would love to experience that. And I don't think that isn't possible, because I've heard of stories of UFO stuff where people think it's a UFO and you know, it blows into all these different little balls of light or whatever. And also the idea of it floating through your house that way and moving around, or the house that you were in, moving around and stuff. I wonder if that was the thing that people, when back in the, you know, hundreds of years ago, they see this and they think fairy.
Oh, Yeah.
You know, I wonder if that's where some of the lore of the Fae came from, is that they were seeing these light anomalies in their house. Or I think there's a place in Texas where these light anomalies happen pretty much every single night. There's like a live camera feed that you can go on the internet and look at, and you know, these things show up every single night and they can't figure out what it is or why. So
Yeah.
I can't say that I don't believe that orbs are real, but orbs are one of those things that, again, people may misidentify things, you know, or they want something to be real. Luke Millette is awful about goddamn orbs. And he has the show Ghost Tapes, which I highly recommend to go watch. And I tease him. I call it Dust Tapes because there's just so many damn orbs, you know. We've reached the 2-hour mark. Can you believe it?
No.
Yeah, we have made it through 2 hours of learning about the gorgeous Horror of Horror, Carla. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will take our questions and call-ins. So everybody get your drinks and get your questions a-brewing. Get yourself a notepad, for God's sakes, and write down the questions. And then that way, when it's time to ask the questions, you'll have them right there with you. And again, don't be afraid to call in and ask Carla your questions. We will be back momentarily after the break. This is Into the Night, and I am James Mitchell. We are back with the stunningly beautiful Horror of Horror. Carla is here with us. We're going to ask questions. So now is the time for you to be putting questions in the chat. Thank you, Boo. Reminding people to be thinking of questions for Carla to answer. Just as she said, put a Q in a capital before the question, so that way it's easier for me to identify. If you would like to come up on stage, now is the time to do that. You will sit in backstage until I bring you up on. You'll have 60 seconds to ask your question, and you can choose to remain on the stream while she answers those questions, or you can depart from the stage and just get your answer on the stream if that's what you would like to do. That's fine. And I do ask that after she has answered your question, you then just promptly leave the stage, so that way we can get other callers in. We can get to other people's questions. Joe Vitale has entered the chat. Welcome, Joe. Good to see you here. Thank you. Thank you for dropping in, and I hope Dawn's surgery went well. I had her in my prayers. I was thinking about you guys last Tuesday. Blueberry329 is asking, Carla, how did you choose the name for your YouTube channel, Horror of Horror?
That's a good question. Like, just because I'm obsessed with horror, so I guess what fits than somebody that's a whore for horror. So it just, and then that I, changed the spelling, so it was
right.
Just it fit, and I think most people call me Horror, but that's how I got the name, because I'm just a big horror addict.
I love that. You just embodied the word. You are horror. But I find it hard to believe because of how absolutely beautiful you are. So it's bittersweet in a way.
Yeah.
But
it's a character. I
right.
love that people call me Horror, and it's a character. My outfit, all that. It just kind of stems off of my favorite classic, Morticia, Lily, Elvira, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
So, what would make me and my channel stand out? And that's where the idea came from.
Gotcha. Again, don't be afraid to ask your questions. Now is the time. I saw some people asking questions earlier, and now's the time to do that. So, Let's see here, because I've got some backup questions, just in the event that people... Oh, here we go. Brian Reinhardt. Question, Lily or Morticia?
Oh, that's hard. I love Morticia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lily's cute, but if I picked... I think, like, people think I look a lot like Morticia, too. I'm like the Morticia of the cemetery.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. What's the most unexpected place you've found paranormal activity? Some place that you wouldn't seem like it was haunted at all. Has that happened?
Well, an apartment that I had that I just recently moved into. I wasn't expecting anything paranormal to happen there. So it was a house that the landlord had separated the rooms into different rental spaces. They were mainly studios. So it was a studio apartment that I moved to, and I was moving all my stuff in there, and I had this huge oriental area rug that I moved into the living room, and it shifted across the floor on me. Like, it was a big, heavy rug, so I don't know how or what moved it, but that was like a paranormal experience, and maybe she was just angry that people are moving into her home, you know?
Right.
That's the only thing I could explain to that one, like, but it was a huge rug and it just shifted across the floor after I moved it in there.
Right.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Brian Reinhardt asks, which Phantasm movie is your favorite?
Phantasm?
Yeah, you know Phantasm?
Yeah, I haven't watched them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I guess I got something to watch tonight.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
the original.
I couldn't answer that, but...
No, that's okay. You're gonna run into that.
Yeah. Well, it was like my discussion with Crow with Witchboard when he brought that up, and I hadn't watched that one. And so I went and I seriously binge watched horror movies that weekend because of it. Watched that one and a few others, so it gives me something new to watch.
Right.
I think I would know all of them, but there's so many.
Yeah.
So many horror movies to watch.
We have some callers. We're gonna go ahead and switch. We've got welcome back, everybody. Teshi to the stage. Teshi, how are you?
Hey, doing good. How about you, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you. Got a question for Carla?
Yeah, just an interesting one. What horror movies have you decided that you were siding with the monsters over the normal people?
I liked Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think I like the backstory on it, so I was kind of siding with him and the teenagers. Morbidly, yeah, but that's one of my other favorite ones. This is a very sad backstory, though.
Yeah. Right on, Teshi. I mean, it was very direct, a question and a direct answer.
Yeah.
What do you think, sir?
Oh, it's awesome. I found Nightbreed to be mine, where I sided with monsters.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I love it.
Yeah. Right on, Teshi. We're going to move on to the next caller, someone I don't recognize. So, thank you for dropping in. We've got
So cool.
Crow Fanboy, formerly known as Rob.
That's awesome.
How you doing, brother? Got a weird crackling happening. Is there something going on your end, Carla?
I can hear the crackle.
It's not me.
Weird.
No,
What is that? Mute my mic?
I'm not sure. It's gone now. But it happened with Teshi, too. Yeah. Oh.
Check. It's gone now. Okay, I must have done something on my end. Coming back. I don't like that.
I can't hear anything.
I know. I'm sorry. It's from my end somehow. I don't know what's going on. Crow Fanboy, formerly known as Rob. What's your question, brother?
What's your favourite food, Carla?
My favorite food?
If you could have any meal you wanted, what would it be? Like dessert, a lot?
I like lasagna.
Lasagna, you have.
Yeah, homemade lasagna.
And what about the food? What about the dessert?
For dessert,
Yeah.
cheesecake.
Oh my god.
Homemade cheesecake.
Yeah. Can't beat it.
Yeah.
Are you a cheesecake fan, Rob? Or
Yeah,
Crow
I'm a
fanboy, I'm sorry.
I love lasagna as well. To fit his mask off, my god.
That was great though.
Yeah, I love cheesecake, love lasagna as well. It's my favourite.
Yeah. It's
Can't
gotta
beat
be
it.
homemade. You can't
And
do a store bought.
yeah, Forster's having a fried egg on top of this one. I've never had that before.
Yeah.
You need to try that.
Mm,
And you need garlic bread with it as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love all of these things you guys are talking about, and I'm starving right now.
Yeah, Beardo's making me starving earlier. Ones I've just been munching through us.
Well, we don't have any more callers right now, but hopefully I can get
Okay.
past whatever this clicking business is. Rob, thank you for calling in. I always appreciate
Yeah,
you calling
thanks
in.
for
That's a great
dressing up,
Telecaster you've
too.
got in the background there,
Yeah,
by
I've
the
got
way.
Telecaster
I
for you
know.
this week.
I
Love
love it.
it.
Nice. Love it.
It's great.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, thanks for calling in. If you have any other questions, feel free to call back in if you want to.
Right, no problem, yeah.
Yep.
Take it easy.
Brother
Thank
and
you.
brother. Have a good one.
Cheerio.
It was
I love
weird.
that people are dressing up.
Yeah.
I mean, Teshi does. I mean, but that's great. Like, maybe everybody should dress up before they join my channel.
That'd be dope, right?
Just, yeah, just playing. But that's great. I love Halloween.
Let me switch through here. I'm not hearing that weird sound anymore. Oh, there it is. It's so
not
weird.
As bad though.
Huh? It's not as bad.
Like it was. Yeah.
It's so weird. I've not had that happen before. I don't know what's going on, and it literally sounds like someone's typing on a keyboard, and I'm hearing it
Yeah.
here.
It wasn't when we were.
Uh-oh. 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 We might have a technical difficulty here. Here, I'm just gonna hit the break screen for a minute. Something's going on. I got some bugs to kink out. Give us just a bit. I apologize. Yeah. I've had to fire Carla again. She's gonna be looking for a new job. No,
Anybody
things
want to
happen.
work at the cemetery?
We're back, and I apologize. Chat has gone and gone and gone, and I saw that there were questions up there. I cannot now
Okay.
scroll back and find it. So all of you who had questions that did not get answered, go right ahead and feel free to put those questions back in. I apologize. Things happen.
I apologize. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. Well,
Go figure.
it was kind of a blessing because whatever was affecting me on my sound.
It's fixed.
Well, yes, it is now because we're in a new session. But I think there was just something going on with StreamYard. I don't even think that it was on your end. I think just something strange must have happened. Must be ghosts.
I had to log into everything to get back into StreamYard. Like, whatever happened, like, kicked me out of, like, everything. My YouTube, all that.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
weird.
Well, it's all good now.
Yes.
Wayne Dawson
Vanished.
Wayne Dawson is asking, do you ever get creepy feelings working where you do?
No, not at my cemetery.
No.
I really don't.
It is a beautiful cemetery.
Yeah. I did drive by it at night, and we have one area that's lit around the statues. They have some spotlights, so if you go to the cemetery, you can go see them. But the left side of the cemetery is pitch black. Like, that part's a little creepy just because it's dark. But I don't have any creepy vibes.
Brian Reinhardt asks, did you watch the Evil Dead series on TV?
No,
No.
I should, but I did not. And the sad part is, like, when people talk about some of these horror movies and, like, the series, I don't have a whole lot of extra time to watch. I'm, like, working 2 jobs and all
Yeah.
that, so. And then
a
my
mom.
YouTube. Yeah, and the YouTube is a big one, so it's like my time I don't really get. Maybe I should call in some sick days and
Yeah.
shouldn't do that, but
Right.
maybe if there's nothing going on. In
And
the
hopefully they don't
cemetery,
watch this show because now they know what to expect. Oh, she's gonna call in,
Right?
huh?
Oh yeah, she's playing hooky because she's watching horror movies.
Julie R, she got in late, so she missed this, which we went over at the beginning of the show. How did you start getting into the paranormal, ghost hunting?
Well, I started when after my 20s, when I had some big things happen, some experiences, and then I wanted to do more investigating on the paranormal part of it. And then had one of my girlfriends that I worked with, her name is Katie, and her and I started exploring some places, and then started my women's team. I have one girlfriend that lives here in Helena that I do a lot of investigations with too, and I have some other ladies reaching out to me that want to join as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's one that's interested, and so I might talk to her and see, kind of get the feel for her and her interests, and if she wants to come on board, bring another lady on board.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Michael Burkeen, I see that you're back. You are welcome to jump in backstage here, and we'll get you on here to ask your question now, if that's something that you want to do. Just want to let you know. He is very eager to ask Carla a question, so eager, in fact, that he kept jumping in. Partly my fault because I put the StreamYard link up ahead of time, but I didn't think I would run into that issue. Not a problem. Michael, I love you no matter what, okay? You're a good dude. Let's see here. Wayne Dawson asks, what would be your perfect date?
Dinner and a movie.
Dinner and a movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's your perfect date?
Yeah.
Maybe not putting together a CRT TV and a VHS or a VCR and going to Goodwill and buying some VHS horror films and...
That would be fun too.
Yeah.
If it's horror related, I'm down for it. I mean, we could go to like a horror movie or whatever, like at the theater. Like, to be honest, like my very first date ever was to Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
So, in the movie theater.
Gotcha.
Fun, so, yeah.
Here's an interesting question from Philip. Stay tuned, CC. Question, what is Carla's favorite pudding?
Pudding, huh? Well, that's a toss-up between coconut and banana.
Oh, man.
But I
Coconut
like
pudding.
using coconut. Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I've never had coconut pudding.
Yeah.
Coconut or banana?
The banana I would probably put in cheesecake.
God damn. All this food porn and I'm starving. Michael Minerals, will you be exploring any other mines around Bitterroot or the Bitterroot area?
No, I don't have anything lined up for mines. Just some ghost towns. Bannock is one of them. I want to see Garnet, and before it gets too cold, and maybe go back to the Elkhorns again because I want to see that cemetery. But not any mine lineups.
Back to the pudding thing. I meant to say this and then I had to switch gears really quick. I distracted myself. I have recently had Cinnabon snack pack pudding, and they are phenomenal. They're so good, and it's so weird, right? Because it tastes just like a cinnamon bun, but it's pudding, so the texture's off, and it throws my brain for a loop. But man, it's so good. It's so good. Julie R asks question, where are you located roundabout?
Oh, okay. I am in Helena, Montana, the capital city of Helena.
Okay. Someone says, I think she's in New Jersey.
No. I've actually never been to New Jersey.
I have once.
Yeah.
Been there once. Made sure to get a Dunkin' Donuts while I was there too. even though they're from Boston. But man, over on the East Coast, Dunkin' Donuts are just as thick as Starbucks is everywhere else in the world. Or yeah, everywhere else in the world.
Oh, see, we don't have a Dunkin' Donuts here.
Yeah.
Have to get from like the grocery store.
Well, they're just called Dunkin' now, but just stupid.
We don't have one.
Pand C Paranormal asks, lovely Carla, is there a paranormal team you would love to do an investigation with?
Besides her team, that would be awesome. I would totally do it with Pansy. I would love to also go with Adelaide, Haunted Horizons, because like I said, I love those ladies. I love how they investigate, and they're so fun. I think we'd have a blast doing that one. But
yeah, that sounds dope.
Pansy, you'd be on my list.
You hear that? Make it happen. Make it happen, Pansy. Someone asked, hold on a second here, it's going a little where to go. I believe it was Michael Burkeen. What was it like down in the mine?
I thought the mines would be dry, it was almost misty and humid, and the temperature it was colder up by the surface going into the mine than actually in the mine. It was actually warm down there. It wasn't cold. And really wet. You have a lot of the groundwater drippage and muddy. It wasn't what I would expected. It was very damp.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would expect it to be cold and dingy and musty and all that, but
yeah, because you're like down in the dirt, so you expect it to be dry and but the groundwater was there was a lot down there. It was really wet in some spots. Like the mud you had to be very careful walking, especially in the dark.
Right. Rob is asking me, is it games night tonight, or is it just the hanging out? Tonight is the hangout night. Tonight is hanging out. So there's that. Let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, I love it when my chat just jumps like that. It's my favorite thing ever. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Go ahead, y'all. Think of questions. I will provide a question. Do you have any rituals or habits you like to follow before starting an investigation? Just basically to get in the right mindset?
Any rituals?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be like,
I do say some prayers. I wear my rosary. I do that because I feel like I need to go into it with some part of a higher protection too, because of some bad experiences that I've had, and I don't want to have anything like that happen again or have an attachment. Yeah. So I guard myself before I go in, and then I do know that I tell myself and where I'm at that nothing is going to follow me out of here. Right. I don't want it coming back.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that. Michael Bikini asks, Jimmy, you say you don't believe in orbs, but you agreed that I caught one. Why? Well, I didn't say I don't believe in orbs. I just find them easy to misidentify, and they are... It's easy to make a mistake when it comes to orbs, So it's not that I don't believe in them. I used to not at all. Yeah. But since I caught the one that I caught at Kent's house, actually there's more than one that I caught, but I've kind of questioned my thoughts on that, and especially after hearing stories like what you're talking about, where you saw one, Carla, where you saw one go through the room with your eyes. Right. I've not experienced that, but I know you're not lying to me.
No. They're quite an anomaly, I would say. Yeah. Mysterious.
Julie R. asks, have you ever lived in a haunted house?
I had an apartment that was haunted. Like I said, with the area rug that moved. I had some papers and stuff that shook, but nothing really big. I think it was just she didn't want people living in her house, and she was just making it known.
Right.
Oh, and then I forgot about this one. So there was another place that I moved into upstairs that I rented in a house, and there was a piano that they moved in, and I could hear the keys play at night. Every so often I'd hear a key or something go off.
That's
so I don't
nuts.
know if it was, I can't really say it was paranormal, but silent during the day, and then there's some nights that were absolutely silent, and then I would hear once in a while keys being played.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was in an older home, and these homes were like in an area that had a lot of paranormal activity to it. There was one building down the way that had a hangman tree and a butcher shop and a morgue, and it's quite a area for those kind of experiences, I would say.
Yeah.
Very old and historical area of Helena.
Right. I want to thank Blueberry for reminding the chat to put a capital Q in front of your question, because that's what I'm looking for. So if I see that, then I know there's a question. If she hadn't put that out, though, I would have missed this question by Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Where did Carla learn to investigate the paranormal?
I didn't really learn it. I just went out and explored places, and I took a camera and took pictures, and I like taking pictures of the history of the buildings and the area. The ghost towns are my favorite, just because they're like the original homesteads in Montana where people lived, and a lot of people that died there was either a disease or plague that went through, or there was outlaws and robbers and a lot of hangings, and so that kind of activity kind of drew me to explore these places. And then from there, like taking my camera and then learning more about the equipment, and then of course taking your phone and video cameras and things like that. So that's how it all, but I never really learned how to do it. I just went into different places that I wanted to explore, and now it's just more communicating with what's there.
Right. It's safe to say that you're actively learning.
Yeah.
You're learning as you go.
Yeah,
which is really, I mean, I think that's, you just dive in and you know, I mean, you learn. You learn as you go. So at least that's, I think that's really the best way for anything. Maybe not heart surgery. You know, you kind of have to know what you're doing there, but
but you can relate to a lot of things in your life by just doing it hands-on. Like I learned how to do the backhoe in the cemetery hands-on.
Right.
You can't learn it on a computer or through a book. You had to actually get in and learn how to use the manuals. So
yeah. How do you handle situations where you're not sure if an experience was something that was paranormal or if it was just a trick of the mind?
Well, one, I like try to go with my gut feelings on it and how I feel about the situation. But if I'm really questioning it, I ask other people that know a little bit more about like the equipment and things, like why would it go off like this and the environment. So what could have possibly made that piece of equipment give me that kind of result? I like asking questions. It's a way to find things out.
Right. Here's an interesting one from Michael Burkeen. I do like this. You know the game Simon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He says, I'm thinking about getting a Simon to investigate the paranormal with, to see if any ghosts will play with it. Do you think that's a good idea? I think it's a new idea. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Well, I mean, they touch stuff anyways, whether it's the cat balls or the bells or K2s, you know, REM pods. So why not use something? I would recommend, especially if you knew the area had children.
Right.
I had some really good responses in the St. James Hospital with cat balls. And a lot of people don't like cat balls, but it was on cement floor. Nobody was around it. And we had the cat ball go off, and then our ovulus said bright and ball. And it was in the children's wing of the St. James Hospital.
Yeah, I think that's... A brilliant
Yes.
way thinking outside of the box. So good on you, Michael, for that. That's awesome. Really cool. I'm interested to see. You know, and just because it doesn't happen once doesn't mean it would never happen. I actually have a Simon myself, so you got me thinking about stuff, Mike. That's awesome. Rob Linklater, or Crow Fanboy. Do you have a bucket list of things you would like to do?
A bucket list of. Well, I want to finish my horror novel first off. I want to travel to certain places. I really want to see some things before I'm too old to be able to do that. I want to go to Scotland and Norway. I want to see my family land in Norway. And it'd be really cool to do some investigations over there too. I really want to see some of the castles and
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
it
feel
all
that.
involves saving up for that and planning.
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? She's from her ancestors are from Norway. Yet another reason why not to fuck with her. Vikings and shit. Yeah, Nocturnal Frequency Radio says he's used an Etch-a-Sketch during investigations. I'm interested in that. That's strange. Curious to find out if you got anything out of that, Steve. Faith Burris asks, I'm curious, with the light that you saw being such a rare thing to experience, what do you personally feel makes yourself so susceptible to experiencing something so rare? What makes you so special, dear?
I think maybe just being open to it.
Yeah.
Don't close yourself off to what could possibly be.
Yeah, and it's just such a... She's right. It's a very rare thing, you know?
I think, yeah, I don't know. I started seeing things when I was little, but I think even for Faith, it would be possible for her to experience something if she's just open to accepting.
Right.
Just be open to accepting things.
Julie asks, where would be a dream location to investigate?
I've always wanted to explore the Bron Castle. Dracula Vlad's castle.
Right.
Yep, that'd be one of them. And yeah, that's, I think, my ultimate on my list to go to is that castle.
Michael is piping in with, I'm also thinking about trying to find one of those toy trucks that light up too. What makes these items easier for ghosts to play with than our technology, you think?
I think just how easy they would set off, like just being touched for once. And the simplicity of it, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Well, it's safe to say that probably a lot of these spirits wouldn't know what technology is. But, however, I don't even know if that's a good argument, because who knows what kind of knowledge you get, if you get any, after you pass on. It's really a bunch of unknowns there. But, excuse me.
Feral.
Yeah, I think the idea of something very practical like a toy truck,
Maybe
or a ball.
them being like familiar with what it is,
Right.
like not recognizing certain pieces of equipment kind of makes them stand off to giving a response. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah.
Rob asks, would you come to Orkney? We have, Carla, we have Norwegian connections. Take Jimmy too, please. So I think he's saying, would you go to Orkney, which is, I think that's where he's from. And he wants you to bring me along with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm down for adventure.
I'd love to go to, pretty sure he's in Ireland.
Yeah. Oh man, Ireland would be amazing.
Which is why the ladies swoon after the man, hearing him speak. He's fighting him off with a stick now.
Well, Ireland would be amazing.
Yeah. What's your opinion on the portrayal of paranormal investigations in the media? Do you think that shows and movies hinder the public understanding of what you do?
I think they give them the wrong perception, interpretation of it.
Right.
Media, yeah. I think they focus more on like the hype of it than the like facts.
Have you?
I really appreciate groups that do a lot of research before going into something or about the locations. Like, really love the history of it involved.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think, my favorite part of it, too.
Yeah.
Just learning about what once was.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more intriguing than painting a picture of, you know, why this place is haunted. Or
Yeah.
making
And they're
up
really
stuff.
bad about that. Or just trying to convince you that it's haunted. That's really what most of them focus on. Not so much leaving it up to the viewer, but just being like, you know, it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, he's north of Scotland. I apologize, Rob. I don't, man.
Okay.
I do well with identifying accents most of the time. I actually pride myself in being able to tell the difference between an Australian accent and an English accent. And I know that there are various English accents, obviously, but sometimes I get it wrong. I apologize, my friend. I didn't mean to accuse you of something. I think that's actually, he might be offended. So I'm sure he's not really, but it's one of those things, you know, there's feuds. So
Yeah,
I did a bad thing. Have you ever returned to a location multiple times?
Yep, Virginia City is one of them. Just
Okay.
because I know it's active. It's an active location for finding, so. And it's all different.
Right.
Yeah.
Pansy Paranormal also thinks that was a brilliant choice that you for your dream place. Wayne Dawson asks, do you have a favorite novelist?
A novelist. Let's see.
She's got kitties in the background. I've got birds. She's got kitties.
My black cat's yelling at me. He wants attention. Stephen King, and I love Stephen King. I was trying to Michael Crichton.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Michael Crichton's really good.
Those are kind of givens, but
Right. Well, hey, you like what you like. Okay.
yeah.
Rob is asking, Carla, have you done a family tree?
Yeah, my mom and I have been working since my grandparents passed away. Like, their lineage goes back to Ireland and Scotland and some Dutch. And so we've kind of traced the history back and the relatives there. So it's pretty cool. But Scotland is just one of my bucket lists to take my grandparents to and spread their cremains there. I know it's not them and it's just the body, but I think they belong there.
Right.
Their body belongs there.
Yeah. Julie R. asks, do you like to read? And if so, your favorite book? Well, we just asked about your favorite novelist, so I'm sure those go hand in hand. You do like to read.
Yep, I do love to read. And right now I am reading Stephen King's Tommyknockers.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
That's not what I expected either. So
yeah.
I didn't think it would be along the sci-fi related, but sci-fi can be horror too. So that's just another subject, you know, besides the creature features and stuff. But
yeah,
the sci-fi horror, like It or The Thing. I mean, The Thing, not It, The Thing. Right. Yeah, that one's one of my favorites.
Mine too. Absolutely love that movie. And The Fog.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Fog's scary.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, both John Carpenter films.
Yeah.
And he didn't get to the established gentleman that he is by making shitty movies.
Yeah. Well, I watched The Fog, and then when I was 10, we went to San Francisco, and the fog rolled in off of the ocean, and I was like,
Jesus.
we're going back, right? We're going back to Grandpa's house. I was scared.
Yeah.
It was like, that's a scary movie.
Yeah, it's great. Michael's asking, he says, I have a K2 meter, but I rarely use it. Do you think that simple techniques are better when it comes to investigating the paranormal?
I think that they are, because when you do get a response, I feel like it's a little bit more like credible. I like using the K2 a lot because you don't get a whole lot of responses unless there's something actually there. I mean, you have to be around an electrical source. Like mine, I'll literally have to put up against an outlet for it to go off.
Right.
So you have to make sure that you have your batteries charged and everything's fresh when you go into the investigation. Like make sure everything is charged and new.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if you just use the batteries once, you know, I think in every investigation you should be putting in fresh batteries, which is expensive because batteries are not cheap.
Right.
But it eliminates that. I guess just that element of this could potentially cause problems, you know.
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself grounded and prevent getting too emotionally involved during an investigation?
That's a good question. I don't know. I do get emotionally involved. I'm very empathic, but I also have to realize that there's not really a whole lot that I can do on my end, but listen and try to help.
Yeah.
But I do get emotionally involved. Like in my last video I did, at the end I was quite touched by the responses that I had. And I don't feel that you get that when things are faked or not real.
Yeah, it's
hard. I had a lot of questions about the responses because I wanted to know, like, was I doing everything correctly? What could have been causing it? But just how I feel like it was legit.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, you had
it was just
two different people running two different apps, right?
Yeah.
And usually I the apps and I are you know, I don't typically get impressed with those. But what was impressive about your investigation, you had two different people running two different apps, and they both said Billy.
Mm-hmm.
That was a bit interesting. Doesn't mean anything real, but it's interesting, and it continued to say things that a child would say. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, there would have been children in this mine, and can you explain why?
I did look up deaths in that mine and why children would be found in the mine, and children were used to run equipment to the miners to save them time from going in and out of the mines so they could continue the work that they were doing, and it was just a faster way to bring them things that they needed. So children would run different things down to them, and there was accidents.
Right.
Unfortunately, and these children were between the ages of 9 and 19, so very young kids. And it's probably scary. Like, I'm sure, and I don't think a lot of them had families. I think maybe some of them were even orphans, or they needed to do it because their family needed money.
Yeah.
Things were very hard back then. So.
Yeah. And it just, because when we first talked about that, I thought, what was my first question? I was like, well, why would there be children in this mine?
That's what I thought. Like, I was like, why is a child down here? Did we get lost? Like, why are we playing down here?
Right.
Going somewhere we're not supposed to and getting hurt? But no, they were essential to helping the miners do their jobs.
Right. Julie R. asks, do you use a voice recorder? And if so, have you caught anything? Do you do research before or after an investigation? So that's 3 questions in one. Let's first start with, do you have voice recorder?
Right. I like doing the research before going into a place. I like being prepared. I like going somewhere, like knowing some of the history about it and what could possibly be there and what I'm looking for. The voice recorder, I didn't use voice recorder. The only thing I've ever really used is the Ovilus. Other people had the apps when we were down in the mines, but I have not used a voice recorder before. Or a spirit box.
Very good.
Yeah, I've never really relied on something talking back to me.
Yeah.
So it's new to me to have something talk. And it's kind of weird to me to think of something that paranormal speaking. But then again, I've heard the growl before. You've had some things happening. You discovered things in mine that I didn't know happened. So
Right.
it's definitely possible.
Are you going to show people that? Or are you going to keep it to yourself?
Maybe I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
I think I should.
For me. Yeah.
I think I should. Because it's something like, it's just very interesting that you found it off of my raw footage that I didn't hear in person.
Yeah.
So it's very, very cool.
Yeah, I agree. Rob asks, what kind of music do you like? And do you have a favorite band or song that you really like listening to?
I really like old rock, like classic rock and metal. And Tom Petty's always been my favorite growing up. Grew up on Tom Petty, so Tom Petty means a lot to me. My favorite song from him is Saving Grace.
Tom Petty is amazing. He's one of those. See, I'm sure it's like this everywhere, but being in a band, I spend a lot of time in bars. And out here, you can guarantee you cannot go into a bar for any extended amount of time without hearing Tom Petty. But I typically like the Traveling Wilburys, which was a super group that had Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, George Harrison, and the guy who's Bob Dylan. And I love that whole album, and Tom Petty really shines a lot in that album. I get, and just of course, something that you associate with your father. So good answer. Julie asks, how could you tell you were empathic?
I think because, well, the empaths can feel people's emotions, not just like physically or seeing people go through grief, but you like deeply feel it. Like it just like chokes you up on a level. Like if you don't, I don't know, like you can, or I pick up on energy, like what people are going through during the day, not just like their demeanor. And I get certain vibes from people before they even talk to me.
Right. Michael, again, I prefer to do solo investigating, but I carry my dog with me. Are you more of a solo investigator, or do you prefer to go in pairs?
Well, like the whole safety issue of going with somebody is important, but if I'm going in a group, then I don't really worry about that, but I'd rather investigate by myself. I think that I have more experiences when I'm by myself than with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. I think, honestly, when it comes down to it, I will only investigate with Luke. He's got to be a part of it with me. That's not to say I wouldn't allow one other person to be, but I have to trust that person.
Right,
That's the reason. That's the reason why I typically will only go with Luke, because I know that I can trust him.
Right.
And of course, I have a lot of friends or people that I trust, but I also know that a lot of my friends are practical jokers, and I have no room for that. If it's all in good fun, that's fine, but you have to know exactly who you can trust and for what reasons, and who you're bringing along with you, because not everybody takes it as seriously as you or I do. It's again people who are looking for something fun, and I totally understand all of that, but I think solo is a little, I don't know if I would do solo. I mean, that's not to say that I wouldn't allow myself to be in the house alone, as long as I knew that Luke was outside very close, so I could run into his arms just in case something gets me. You know.
Yeah. I'm not frightened though. Like, I've had things that happen that frighten me, but when I'm going to a place, I'm not scared.
Yeah.
I'm okay going solo and just randomly going somewhere by myself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Faith Burris asks, are you the first of your family to be interested in the paranormal?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody else does what I do.
Very direct answers. We've got a caller, thank God. Everybody, welcome back. Wayne Dawson, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, thanks, Jimmy. Yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Hi, Carla.
Hello.
Hello. So, I was just wondering, is there any film locations that you'd actually like to visit?
Film locations?
Yeah.
Oh man, like I almost had the opportunity of going to the Buffalo Bill House.
Oh, cool.
Silence of the Lambs, yeah.
Yes. Yep, Silence of the Lambs again, but yeah, that would be a really cool one. I saw the Munster House in Hollywood. That was really cool. So yeah, I think if I picked, I would definitely want to go to the Buffalo Bill House.
It puts the lotion on its skin.
Of course.
Yeah,
Super
it's
cool.
creepy.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I wonder, I've seen the house from Prancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Indiana. It's like in northern Indiana. I've been to the Grand Hotel in Michigan off of, I think it's Mackinac Island. The film Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves and, darn it, what's her name? Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Jane Seymour. Yeah, it was a movie. I've as far as any places that I've been, places I'd like to go. Well, New York City. I've been there. I saw that in person. But places I'd like to see, and goodness, I don't know. There's so many places. I don't know if I could narrow it down to just one myself. So that's a tough
I'd have
question.
to look that one up. I haven't seen that film, but I'd have to look that up.
Which one?
Somewhere in Time.
Oh, it's such a good movie. It's a love story, but man, it's such a good movie. It really is. Yeah, highly recommend that. Good date night movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on, my friend. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming and asking your questions.
Thanks.
Always
Jimmy.
a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah,
I
cheers.
have a question for you, my friend. Who is that playing guitar? Who's that playing guitar on your wall there?
That's Yngwie Malmsteen.
I thought it might have been.
Yeah, is my hero. I've kind of dedicated most of my CD collection to Yngwie.
Yeah. Well, he's a phenomenal guitar player.
He is. He's probably
He even did a Christmas album once, and it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, I never knew you could have so many notes in Carol of the Bells like that, but good on you for doing it.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good song.
I love it. It's my favorite.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah, he's brilliant. I mean, he's not everybody's favorite guitar player, but at the end of the day, it's the type of music that I like listening to.
Yeah, he's very talented. Very talented. Super cool.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right, Wayne.
thanks.
Well, thanks for answering my question and for asking yours.
Thanks for sharing. You're so awesome.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Feel free to call in anytime, my friend. You have a good day.
Will do, Jimmy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I didn't mean to cut him off like that. Let's see here. What's your take on mediums and psychics?
Oh, that's hit or miss with. Yeah, I don't really trust the mediums, but psychics, I've had both. You know, I lived with a psychic in California, and I had some experience with her, and she knew things about me I didn't tell anybody, and she didn't know who I was. Like, I was just a roommate for a while.
Huh.
So she definitely was gifted. Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
then you've got people that, just fake it because they want money or whatever
Right.
and dupe people. But the legit people, it's intense.
I had a really good conversation with Kenny privately about
Yeah.
psychics.
Mhm.
Actually, he might have spoke on it even in the interview. I can't quite remember. It all blurs together now. I've done so many interviews on screen and off screen that it's starting to blend together. But he was talking about psychics who helped solve a murder and all this stuff, and people that are claiming to do that. And it's like, no, he,
Right.
of course, he calls and talks to the police. And it's like, no, he never had anything to do with any of it at all whatsoever.
Right.
She's just trying to sell tickets,
Mhm.
and it works. I have a confession to make to Michael Burkeen. It was not the internet that was being weird and booting you out. It was my bitch ass doing it. Not to be rude, but it was. It just wasn't time for you to be on the stage yet. So if you want to ask your question, we're gonna wrap it up here in a little bit. I went ahead and went over a little bit tonight because we had the technical difficulties. So,
Yeah.
Michael, if you want to be our final caller, you can go right ahead and do your call in. And don't apologize like crazy, my friend. You are forgiven.
I know.
I care for
I could foresee it happening because that's my luck.
Yeah.
Yep. It's always something technical with me.
You've touched on it a little bit. What's next for you? Any upcoming projects or investigations that you want to talk about?
So the end of this month, I've got the Dumas brothel in Butte to check out. They say that location is very active, and I've never been there before, so I want to see new places. And then after that is the Phillipsburg Theater, and I love theater anyway, so that'll be a really fun location to check out.
Again, I'm going to extend my invite to Michael Burkeen. If you want to call in, go ahead and do so. Again, it wasn't your internet that was doing that. Let's see. Do you ever see yourself stepping away from the field of the paranormal, or is this something that you think you're going to do until you can't anymore?
I think I'll always have experiences in my life.
Yeah. Are you going to go looking for it, though, is I think what I'm asking here. I think that's what I'm asking.
I think there's probably going to be a point in my life when I'm older that I'm not going to be doing it.
Yeah.
But as for right now, when I'm capable of it in my youth and being financially able to, yes. And it's not to find the paranormal, it's more to help people, just like I do at the cemetery.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's heartbreaking if somebody says that they don't know they've passed away or they're trapped or what happened. Like the one response, what happened to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that part just, it really gets to you.
Right.
I think that's the reason why I'm doing it. It's not really to prove that there's paranormal. It's just sharing to other people my experiences and what I've gone through, because I honestly, my whole life, feel like I'm a magnet to it.
Yeah.
And it's maybe just my heart and my spiritual side.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
maybe they're searching for me too, to help them.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're like drawn to it. If
Gotcha.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Pansy Paranormal loves that answer. She's giving you hearts.
Oh.
And says that's wonderful. I've got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
You've seen a lot in your time, even before investigating, but while investigating, you've seen a lot. So what's one story that you've shared that you have not shared yet that you think our listeners would love to hear?
I think it was my most recent one with the poltergeist activity that I was telling you about, because I did a home exorcism for that man, and I think the approach that went about it from his grandson was wrong. He was angry at him and hated him for what he did. And I think as good people in whatever religion you are, like Christian or Catholic or, Baptist. You can go down the road. But anyway, I was raised Catholic. So to me, it felt wrong to go at your family member in such hate and anger. And that wasn't what was going to help him. And so ultimately, at the end, I had to explain to his grandson that you need to show him forgiveness and that there's love, and to be able to cross over and to face judgment shouldn't be scary.
Yeah. Good answer. Where can people find you and what you are doing?
They can find me on my YouTube channel or Facebook. I think, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. There are links in the
Horror.
description. I've included links in the description for them.
Yeah, so just feel free to reach out, send me messages, if you have questions, or you follow what I'm doing, or, follow me on Facebook. I'm very friendly. I'm open to answering people's questions and visiting about experiences, and I'm very open to people talking about those experiences, and I'm a safe place.
Very good. Well, this has been a wonderful interview. I'm glad that people who are curious about you have learned a little bit more about the person behind the channel. Carla, it has been an honor to have you on the show. I'm going to sit down with you and talk with you about you and what you're doing and how you think about things. Leaves me more intrigued and wanting to know more. So I'd love to have you back on sometime if you would like to come back.
Okay.
And
Of course.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you want to see more of Carla, there are links right now in the chat. Thank you, Boo, for doing that. Facebook and her YouTube channel there. Go and subscribe. Go and follow her on Facebook. And show her some love. There are not enough investigators doing what she is doing. So, again, I commend you, and I tip my invisible hat to you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Appreciate you very much.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Into the Night. I am James Mitchell, and we'll see you next week.